Hello dear viewers, support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it, and also make sure you comment your thoughts. Now let's start the video. High above the earth, where normal people worry about things like rent and TikTok algorithms, the watchtower of the Justice League hummed quietly. It floated in orbit like some overachieving space hotel minus the minibar, plus a lot of end-of-the-world meetings. Inside, gathered around a conference table, big enough to seat a pantheon, were several of the most powerful beings on the planet. Heroes who could stop volcanoes, punch black holes, and somehow still never win an argument with Batman. On the central display screen, a vivid recording of Naruto's recent friendly battle with the Young Justice team played out. By friendly, we mean it was only a little less destructive than a small-scale alien invasion. Clones exploded like confetti, energy blasts streaked across the battlefield. Lagoon Boy was currently curled in a crater, questioning his life choices. Again, Superman leaned back in his chair like a dad watching his kid's football highlights, except his kid just soloed 6 superpowered teenagers and summoned a 9-tailed death fox. So, he said casually, what do you all think? Diana raised an eyebrow, arms folded. Her expression was somewhere between impressed and calculating, like a queen appraising a new general. He's too powerful for Young Justice. They couldn't touch him. I'd prefer to spar with him myself for a real assessment. Green Lantern, lounging like he didn't command one of the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy, whistled low. You saw how he moved, right? Those energy clones? It's like fighting a teleporting army with ADHD. Aquaman let out a hearty laugh. Let's not pretend I fought sea gods slower than that boy. And those energy blasts, I'm not ashamed to admit if I'd gone in there I'd have ended up a fried fish stick. Shazam leaned forward, his teenage soul inside a demigod's body, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. What if we just let him into the league? But like undercover, he could go by a cool code name. Something intimidating, like Fox Phantom or Vibe King. Hawkgirl rolled her eyes. He's 16. No matter what name he uses, it doesn't change the facts. If he joins Young Justice, the others will start treating him like a safety net. The team dynamics would collapse faster than Wally running out of snacks. Everyone turned, as if on cue, to the Dark Knight himself. Batman, the human equivalent of a walking security clearance, was silent, watching, probably calculating Naruto's blood type, shoe size, and chakra output simultaneously. Finally, he spoke. Do you trust him? Superman didn't flinch. Yes. He's open about his power. He warns people before he uses transformations. He's emotionally balanced, even in battle. I spoke with him extensively. His intentions seemed genuine. There was a pause as everyone digested that. Trust from Superman wasn't handed out like Halloween candy. Then we observe, Batman said. Pair him with Supergirl. She's powerful, and still solo. We'll get reports from her, and she won't let things slide. If he's the real deal, she'll know. Besides, Aquaman said, scratching his chin, she could use a training partner who doesn't explode from a single punch. Green Lantern snorted. That's one way to bond. Batman nodded once. We add him to the watch list. Not as a member yet, but as a wild card. Oh good, Diana said dryly. Because what this team really needed was a blonde, fox-powered ninja wild card with an interdimensional fox spirit and the ability to flatten a mountain with a punch. The lights dimmed as the footage looped again. Naruto, laughing in slow motion as a wave of clones leapt into battle behind him. Beast Boy was running for his life as a squirrel. Lagoon Boy was face down, again. Tell Kara, Superman said, and let's hope she doesn't accidentally vaporize him during missions. And so, just like that, a blonde boy with a dream and a chakra-powered tail became the most discussed name in a room full of legends. What came next? Well, the universe wasn't ready, but it was going to find out. Fast. If there was one thing that could make even Superman pause mid-flight, it was the sight of Batman sitting still long after a meeting had ended. The rest of the Justice League had filtered out. Flash trailing popcorn, Green Lantern grumbling about paperwork, and Aquaman doing something dramatic with his cape. But Bruce Wayne, Dark Knight extraordinaire, remained hunched forward in his seat like the fate of the world was about to be decided via Zoom call. Superman, who had perfected the art of hovering silently just above the ground, because walking was for mortals, stayed behind. There was something in Batman's expression that said, I'm silently judging the universe, which to be fair was his usual setting, but this time it came with extra brooding. You have doubts, Clark said gently, arms folded like the universe's most ripped school counselor. Batman didn't deny it. He didn't grunt either, which was progress. Instead, he steepled his fingers like an anime villain, and stared at the now dark screen that had previously shown Naruto in full chaotic glory. This is the first time I've seen you so supportive of someone we know so little about, Bruce said, voice low. Clark gave a small, crooked smile. I wouldn't say we know nothing. He let Sadatana scan him thoroughly. No resistance, no hidden clauses. That alone tells me he's not hiding anything. Batman arched an eyebrow, which in Batspeak translated to, or he's hiding everything, and he's just that good. Or Bruce said aloud, he's powerful enough that he doesn't care if we do. Superman laughed under his breath. That's possible, but if you talk to him, you'll understand. He has this way about him. Like you're not alone in whatever you're carrying. Batman didn't answer immediately, which meant his brain was going at bat speed, calculating, dissecting, probably rewinding through every Naruto interaction, like a DVR with paranoia mode turned on. It was true. Naruto hadn't demanded anything from them. No respect. No status. No suspiciously specific coffee orders like Constantine. He showed up, fought like a hurricane with a smile, got everyone soaked in seawater or punched in the gut, and still ended the day laughing with the team. He was dangerous. Anyone with a giant fox demon and a shadow clone army should come with a safety label. But he wasn't threatening, not in the way that made Bruce's inner alarms go off. He's either incredibly naive, Bruce said at last, or he's a being of immense power, deliberately masking himself behind an unshakable sense of purity. Superman didn't argue. Instead, he stepped closer and added softly, if it's the second one, wouldn't that still make him valuable? We don't have many like that. Batman's silence stretched again. It wasn't agreement, but it wasn't rejection, either. Eventually, his lips twitched, barely. Maybe, he muttered, he'd make a good psychiatrist. Superman blinked. Then laughed, like full Kryptonian belly laugh, which echoed awkwardly in the high-tech Bat conference room. You know, Bruce, I was thinking the same thing. Batman gave him a look that could have frozen molten lava. But he didn't deny it. Because, truth be told, Naruto did make people open up. Bruce didn't say anything more, but as the lights dimmed around them and Superman quietly exited, he remained seated for just a moment longer, considering things, replaying memories, and perhaps wondering what it would be like if Naruto opened a Bat-approved therapy hotline. He'd never admit it, but he'd probably call. Back at Mount Justice, things had finally cooled down after the sparring spectacle that left half the team sweaty and the other half questioning their life choices. Naruto, having returned to his more casual self, still barefoot and somehow managing to eat an entire bowl of popcorn without a microwave in sight, was sitting cross-legged on a beanbag chair. The room was filled with the laid-back hum of downtime energy. Superboy lounged on the couch like a big cat, pretending not to enjoy company. Nightwing was fiddling with some kind of portable screen/hologram thingy, while Static was trying and failing to get the popcorn bowl back from Naruto. Beast Boy had declared this the first official movie night that turned into teaching Naruto about Earth session. No one protested. Well, first off, Beast Boy said, dramatically clearing his throat as if he was giving a TED Talk, you gotta understand Earth culture is all about balance. For example, anime and pizza, yin and yang. Naruto raised an eyebrow, crunching down a handful of popcorn. Anime and pizza, that's culture? Dude. Yes. Beast Boy grinned. Naruto, you're gonna love this one. Anime I know. It's called One Piece. Sorta. There's food. There's yelling. There's a bunch of pirates, like a lot of pirates. Naruto paused, squinting. Is it a documentary? Nightwing snorted. More like fanfiction meets martial arts soap opera. That's the best part, Beast Boy said. Also, it's way more polite than real life. No blood. Well, okay, some blood, but cool blood. Superboy raised an eyebrow. What exactly is cool blood? You'll see, Beast Boy said, with the confidence of someone who once cried at the pain arc and wasn't ashamed of it. Meanwhile, Static leaned in from across the room. All right, Naruto, serious question. What kind of movies do you like? Action? Sci-fi? Rom-coms? Naruto blinked. What's a rom-com? A romantic comedy, Nightwing offered, now lazily scrolling through a list of titles on the hollow screen. People fall in love, but also slip on banana peels. Naruto considered that sounds like something Jiraiya would watch. Superboy, who had mostly been silent until now, finally spoke up. Movies are great and all, but I'm telling you, motorcycles, that's freedom. Naruto tilted his head. Is it like a metal toad? The rune paused. A metal toad? Static repeated, unsure if he heard that right. Naruto nodded solemnly. In my world, I can summon toads. One of them has metal armor. It's fast, loud, scares people. Superboy blinked, then slowly smirked. Okay, that's actually kind of accurate. Right, Naruto grinned. And you'd love motorcycles then, Superboy added. You control where it goes, feel the wind, tear across the highway. No seatbelts, just raw power and balance. Naruto's eyes gleamed. That sounds like the Rasengan on wheels. Beast Boy leaned in. Do not say Rasengan on wheels. Too loud or Cyborg will try to make it real. Who's Cyborg? Naruto asked. Basically Iron Man if he grew up in Detroit and had more sarcasm. Static explained. Also, he lives for weird ideas like yours. Nightwing chuckled. And if we let Naruto anywhere near Cyborg in a machine shop, we'll probably end up with a chakra-powered go-kart that talks. I would ride that, Beast Boy said immediately. I would race that, Static added. Naruto nodded. I would win that. Superboy just grunted, but there was a gleam of interest in his eyes. You ever race on foot? I'm pretty fast. Naruto tilted his head with a grin. Want to test that? Just don't cry when you're eating my dust. Oh, he's cocky now. Static laughed. Nightwing smirked, scrolling down the holo list. Alright, let's table the racing till after movie night. I found something everyone can agree on. Classic Earth cinema, The Princess Bride. Beast Boy gasped. Yes. Naruto needs to learn about true love and sword fights. Superboy grumbled, but didn't argue. Naruto, meanwhile, looked completely lost. What's it about? Nightwing leaned forward, his tone dead serious. Revenge. Pirates. Cliffs. Rats of unusual size. Also, fencing. Naruto grinned. Fencing? Count me in. An hour later, the lights were dim, the popcorn was gone, and Naruto was quoting lines alongside the others like he'd been watching Earth movies his whole life. By the time Inigo Montoya made his final stand, Naruto was on his feet, fists clenched. You tell him, he shouted. That's how you avenge a master. Beast Boy beamed with pride. See? I knew he'd get it. Superboy looked over, finally relaxing into the cushions. I gotta admit, you're alright, Naruto. Naruto gave him a fox-like grin. Took you long enough. Static raised a finger. Alright, but tomorrow, video game night. You're not getting out of that. After the earlier whirlwind of Clone Fu, mid-air Kung Fu theatrics, and cosmic dodgeball with Superboy, Naruto was enjoying a rare moment of peace. Not silence, mind you, because Beast Boy had just discovered Naruto also liked anime, and that was basically verbal napalm for anyone within earshot. So you've really never seen One Piece? Beast Boy gasped, practically falling off the couch. Dude, that's like a crime against pop culture. Naruto blinked, tilting his head like a confused fox pup. I don't think I've seen one piece of it. Beast Boy groaned. Okay, that pun hurt me spiritually, but I forgive you because we are going to fix this. I'm talking full anime boot camp. Me, you, blanket forts. Snacks and 900 episodes. Let's go. Static snorted from the side. You trying to kill him, or turn him into a hermit? Nightwing chuckled. Give Naruto a break. He's already got the hair for an anime protagonist. Let the guy breathe before you make him fight Kaido. Naruto just grinned. He liked this. Sitting around, talking about games and stories and food. It reminded him of home, of ramen nights with Aruka, of game nights at Kakashi's, though Kakashi only played if he could cheat, and of all the loud, silly, real moments that made being a ninja worth it. Then Superboy, ever the quiet type, stood up and stretched. Hey, Naruto, you want to see something cool? Naruto raised a brow. Cool as in cool, or cool as in, last time I saw this, something exploded. Superboy smirked. Little of both. That was how they ended up in the Mount Justice hangar, where a sleek, black and silver motorcycle stood like it was posing for a tech magazine cover. It looked like the love child of a fighter jet and a cyberpunk fever dream. It purred with quiet power, and its chrome plating shimmered faintly with what Naruto swore was space energy. Naruto's jaw dropped. "You built this?" Superboy gave a casual shrug, but Naruto could see the pride in his eyes. "Yeah, it took me months. The base is alien tech I salvaged. It's linked to my solar reserves, so if I'm charged up, it's charged up. Top speed is, well, fast." Naruto circled the bike reverently. "You saying this thing moves at light speed?" "Not quite," Superboy said, scratching the back of his neck. "But it can keep up with me when I'm cruising. Atmospheric lift, dimensional shielding, internal gravity field. So I don't splatter myself if I brake too hard." "Internal gravity field," Naruto repeated, blinking. "Bro, I was happy just learning how to ride a toad." Superboy smirked. "Riding a toad sounds weirder." It's not weird, it's tradition." "Sure," Superboy said, then leaned against the bike. "You ever heard of Lobo?" "Lobo?" Naruto echoed. "Sounds like a really cranky dog." Superboy chuckled, though it was more of a dry, you have no idea chuckle. "He's a galactic bounty hunter. Bad attitude, bigger ego, even bigger guns. He once took out an entire asteroid colony because someone stepped on his boots." Naruto raised a hand. "Okay." Nutted. "Do not step on space guy's boots." "Also," Superboy said, pointing a finger for emphasis, "if you ever see him, and I mean ever run, do not try to fight him unless you've got, like, a Kryptonian, a lantern, and a small army backing you up." "That bad, huh?" "He rides a space motorcycle that drinks black holes for fuel." Naruto whistled. "Alright, that's kinda badass. Scary, but badass." Superboy nodded. "He was the reason I got into building my own bike. I saw him once, when I was younger, just tearing across space, this huge chain wrapped around his wrist, riding like the galaxy owed him money. I thought, yeah, I want that kind of speed, but, you know, without the trail of bodies." Naruto smiled. "So you built your own legend, huh?" Superboy didn't respond immediately. He looked at the bike again, this time softer. "Yeah, something like that." Back inside, Beast Boy was already queuing up Naruto's essential anime starter pack playlist. Nightwing and Static were mock bickering over which game console was superior, and Bumblebee was rigging up some sort of quantum popcorn machine. Because, in her words, microwave popcorn is for plebs. Naruto looked around, taking it all in, the laughter, the friendly jabs, the clatter of boots against metal, and the scent of ozone and butter and grease. Maybe this wasn't his village, but in that moment, it felt close enough. Naruto was losing. Badly. "Again? Come on!" he yelled, nearly flipping the controller like it had betrayed him in battle. Static, Beast Boy, and Nightwing burst into laughter as the KO screen flashed across the TV for what felt like the 30th time that hour. Even Superboy, who usually wasn't the laugh-out-loud type, gave a snort. "I thought you said you were a champion," Beast Boy teased, leaning back on the couch with an exaggerated stretch. "Did you mean champion of losing?" "I was the Hawkeye Tekken champion back home," Naruto insisted, his eyebrows furrowing as he pointed dramatically at the screen. "Back then, my hands were fast like lightning." Nightwing raised an eyebrow, grinning. "Dude, this is Meta Brawl 6, not whatever you played with kunai and chakra routers. You gotta learn combos, timing, strategy." Naruto looked at the controller like it was a foreign scroll, written in chicken scratch. "I have timing. I fought literal ninjas. And still got beat by a green bean." Static added, bumping fists with Beast Boy. They had formed an unspoken alliance of, let's make Naruto humble today. "Green bean?" Naruto repeated, deadpan. "I'm gonna remember that one." To be fair, Naruto had fun. Despite the fact he was losing. The banter, the laughter, the way Beast Boy could shapeshift into a raccoon just to do a mock victory dance. It all reminded him of home. The village, his friends. After a few more rounds and a few more losses, he tossed the controller aside with a groan. "Okay, break time before I chuck this thing into the ocean." Superboy stood up, stretching. "Want to see something cooler than your kill-death ratio?" "Anything would be cooler than that," Beast Boy said. Later that night, Naruto had finally tapped out after getting fatality-ed for the 13th time. He muttered something about pixelated betrayal and wandered outside for a breather. The sea breeze was gentle against his face as he walked toward the beach behind Mount Justice. There, sitting near the edge of the water with his legs curled to his chest, was Lagoon Boy. Naruto paused. The guy was staring into the ocean like it owed him money. "Yo," Naruto said, dropping into a seat beside him. Lagoon Boy didn't look at him. "You here to tell me how I lost to a land ninja at waterbending?" Naruto winced. No. That would be a terrible pep talk." Lagoon Boy gave a dry snort, but didn't tell him to leave. They sat in silence for a while, the waves lapping at their feet, stars stretching above them in a sky so wide it could swallow insecurities whole. Naruto didn't push. He just waited. Eventually, Lagoon Boy muttered, "I'm not like the others. I'm too aggressive. I try too hard, and everyone looks at me like I'm gonna freak out." Naruto nodded. "I get that. I used to prank my whole village just to get noticed. People thought I was annoying, loud, uncontrollable." Lagoon Boy turned to him with a curious glance. "What changed?" "I stopped trying to force everyone to accept me, and just started acting the way I wished they would. Honest, helpful, real. That's when things started to shift." Lagoon Boy looked down at his webbed hands. "Also," Naruto added, bumping shoulders with him, "we should totally train together. Your water control's amazing, and I could learn a lot. You're not alone, dude. And hey, training's way better when you have someone to complain about sore muscles with." For the first time all day, Lagoon Boy cracked a small smile. "You're weird." Naruto grinned. "Yeah, but I'm the good kind of weird. Come on, let's go hit the waves, tomorrow morning. I'll bring the energy. You bring the water." As they sat under the stars, Naruto thought about how strange it was. The things that brought people together. A crushing defeat in a video game, a shared moment of insecurity, or just sitting beside someone until the silence turned into trust. Whatever world this was, Naruto figured he could get used to it, even if the controllers were evil. Naruto exhaled, stepping forward as he eyed the massive metallic block at the center of the testing chamber. It was an intimidating construct, an utterly indestructible monolith made of some bizarre material he couldn't even begin to comprehend. No matter what he threw at it, he already had a feeling it wouldn't even budge. But that wasn't the point. The real purpose of this test was to gauge his strength. Veritas, lounging lazily in the observation area, waved her hand as the system interface flared to life beside her. "All right, Golden Boy, let's see what those muscles of yours can do," she purred. "The system will quantify everything, so don't bother trying to guess. Just hit the thing as hard as you can, and I'll tell you how impressive or not it is." Naruto ignored her teasing and focused. He raised his hand, forming a Rasen Shuriken. The massive spinning blade of wind chakra hummed violently, cutting into the air itself. "All right, first test," Naruto muttered as he threw the Rasen Shuriken. It sliced through the space between him and the target in an instant, colliding against the metallic block with an ear-splitting boom. And then, nothing. No cracks, no scorch marks. The Rasen Shuriken's energy simply dissipated upon impact, like it had never even existed. Naruto blinked. "What the hell?" Veritas let out an exaggerated yawn. Let's see." She hummed as the system processed the data. Then she smirked. "Oh ho, not bad. Golden Boy, that had the power to wipe out a large country, with ease." Naruto's eyebrows shot up. That was country level. Kara, floating nearby with her arms crossed, nodded. "Not bad," she said, though she wasn't particularly impressed. Given her own raw power, such a feat didn't seem all that special to her. But as a friend, she felt the need to encourage him. "That's a huge leap in just 2 days. You're improving really fast." Naruto clenched his fists. If that was country level, then how much further could he push it? Without hesitation, he flared his chakra and shifted into his Kurama form. His golden body expanded to a towering 500 meters, the air vibrating with the sheer energy output. His 9 massive tails swayed, each one pulsing with unimaginable strength. "All right, let's amp it up," Naruto roared as he raised both arms, forming 2 colossal Rasen Shuriken, each one tens of times larger than the last. He could feel the raw, destructive energy compacted within them, buzzing with untamed potential. "System, Analyze this, Veritas hummed, her eyes gleaming with interest. Naruto didn't stop there. Around the Rasen Shuriken, multiple rotating Bijudama bombs materialized, each one carrying enough energy to obliterate an entire landmass. The sight was breathtaking, a storm of pure annihilation. Let's go! Naruto hurled the twin Rasen Shuriken, sending them spiraling toward the target, the Bijudama following in their wake like guided missiles. The moment they struck, a blinding golden light erupted. The sheer force of the explosion roared like 1,000 thunderstorms, creating a shockwave that should have leveled continents. The very air seemed to split apart as the combined attacks detonated in a furious, world-ending blast. And yet when the smoke cleared, the metallic block remained pristine, untouched, not even a scratch. Naruto stared in disbelief. Oh, come on. Veritas whistled. Ooh, now that was spicy. She leaned forward, scanning the system readout, and the results are in. She let out a dramatic gasp. Congratulations, golden boy. You've officially reached continental-level attack potency.
Naruto blinked.
Seriously. Kurama, watching from within him, chuckled. Not bad. If this were the old days, you could have wiped out an entire enemy nation in an instant. Kara, still floating nearby, nodded. That's impressive, she said. Though she didn't share Naruto's shock. She could literally carry planets if she wanted to, so the difference in scale wasn't as mind-blowing to her. But still, she gave him a small smile. You've come a long way in just 2 days. Veritas, on the other hand, was having far too much fun watching Naruto's reactions. Boot, she dragged out playfully, you still didn't even scratch the test block. So, technically 0 damage. She burst into laughter. You really thought that would work, huh?
Naruto scowled.
I knew this thing was ridiculous, but damn, not even a dent. Veritas grinned. Maybe if you try really hard, you can at least make it warm. Naruto gave Kara a side glance as she once again repeated, That's impressive. He squinted at her, unimpressed. That's it? Kara blinked. Huh? That's impressive. Naruto mimicked her tone. Come on, Kara, you literally just said that a second ago. You can't think of anything else? Kara frowned slightly, clearly trying to think of a better compliment. After a few seconds of silence, she finally said, That's really impressive. Naruto groaned, dragging a hand down his face. Wow, truly inspiring. I feel so validated right now. Veritas cackled from the sidelines. Aw, this is priceless. She wiped away a fake tear. Poor golden boy, working his butt off for compliments, and all he gets is a lazy pat on the back. Kara pouted. Hey, I'm trying. It's not my fault I can lift planets. Naruto threw his hands up. Then say that. Say something like, wow, Naruto, you're almost 1/1,000,000th as strong as me. At least that would be honest. Kara crossed her arms and muttered, That sounds kinda mean. Naruto just sighed, shaking his head. Forget it. I'll just pretend you gave an epic speech about my greatness. Kara huffed. Fine. Just imagine I said something really inspiring. Naruto smirked. Way ahead of you. Veritas led Naruto to a separate chamber within the metallic facility, one specifically designed to simulate extreme environments. The walls shimmered with layered energy shielding, ensuring even the harshest conditions wouldn't affect the outside world. Called heat resistance. Alright, Blondie, let's start with heat. If you scream like a little girl, I won't judge. Veritas smirked as she activated the system. The temperature in the chamber shot up instantly, rising to levels that could melt steel. The metal ground beneath Naruto's feet glowed red hot, but he stood unfazed, arms crossed. Too weak, he muttered. Oh, Veritas grinned. Let's crank it up then. The heat soared past volcanic levels, reaching temperatures that could reduce mountains to molten slag. The air shimmered, the sheer intensity of the heat causing even the facility's shielding to hum under pressure. Naruto still stood there, arms behind his head, looking utterly unimpressed. Still nothing? Veritas raised an eyebrow.
Nothing, Naruto confirmed.
I don't even feel warm. Veritas clapped her hands. Well, aren't you heat-proof? What about, I don't know, the kind of heat that can vaporize cities? The temperature skyrocketed. The chamber became a miniature sun, the heat equivalent to a concentrated solar flare. Even the reinforced metallic walls began to glow white-hot. Finally, Naruto squinted slightly. Okay. I felt that. Kara, standing outside the chamber, raised an eyebrow. You mean, it hurts? No, Naruto waved a hand. It's just, kinda toasty now. Like standing near a really big firework. Veritas pouted. Cheh, not fair. Cold resistance. Next, Veritas flipped a switch, and the temperature plummeted. The heat was sucked from the air, so fast that the molten metal solidified in an instant. Within seconds, the chamber turned into a frozen wasteland. Ice crystals formed across the floor, and the temperature fell even lower, far below anything naturally found on Earth. Naruto blew out a breath, watching the vapor freeze mid-air. Mate. The cold kept dropping, surpassing temperatures that could freeze entire mountains solid in an instant. Absolute zero approached, the molecules in the air slowing to near complete stillness. The walls of the chamber creaked under the strain, and even Kara outside the test room shivered slightly. Naruto? He tilted his head. Are we done? Veritas gawked. You not feeling anything? Naruto looked at his fingers and flexed them. Nope, honestly, it's kinda refreshing, like a really good ice bath. Kara sighed. Of course it is. Veritas groaned dramatically. Ooh. I was so hoping to see you shiver at least once. You're such a killjoy. Radiation resistance. Alright, fine. Next up, let's see how well you handle some good old death rays. Veritas smirked, flipping yet another switch. Immediately, the chamber was flooded with levels of radiation that would reduce an ordinary human to dust in seconds. Naruto cracked his knuckles. This should be interesting. The radiation climbed, gamma rays, neutron radiation, and levels of cosmic energy, so high that they would make nuclear bombs seem like firecrackers. Naruto closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the energy brush against his skin. Feels tingly. Veritas blinked. Tingly? Yeah, like a warm breeze or something, Naruto said, rubbing his arm as if he were feeling static electricity. It's kinda nice. Veritas's eye twitched. You're telling me you're completely fine? Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Yep, you suck. Kurama chuckled in Naruto's mind. Honestly, this isn't that surprising. The sage always traveled through space for long journeys, so being resistant to cosmic radiation makes sense. Gravity resistance. Alright, Naruto, time for the fun part. Veritas grinned. Let's see how much weight you can handle. The gravity in the chamber doubled instantly, then tripled, then increased tenfold. Naruto didn't budge. Okay, let's get serious, Veritas muttered, pushing it further. The gravity climbed past the point where mountains would crumble, the weight crushing anything weaker than reinforced steel. Naruto cracked his neck. Still good. The pressure increased even further, past planetary levels, past what would flatten entire continents into dust. The metallic floor beneath Naruto groaned, reinforced as it was. Naruto shifted slightly, rolling his shoulders. Okay, now I feel it a little. Veritas grinned wickedly. Let's see if we can make you kiss the floor, golden boy. The gravity surged to levels that would make normal planets collapse into themselves. The weight crushed down, and for the first time, Naruto's knees bent slightly. Oh? Kara watched curiously. Is it finally affecting you? A little, Naruto admitted, sweat forming on his forehead, like trying to carry a mountain on my shoulders. Veritas smirked. Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's more like several mountains. Naruto took a deep breath, then boom, his chakra flared around him, and he stood straight again, completely unfazed. There we go, Naruto grinned. That was a nice warm-up. Veritas groaned. You are a monster. Kara clapped her hands together. That's impressive. Naruto turned to her deadpan. Again, Kara crossed her arms. What? It is impressive. Seriously, this is getting sad, Kara. Veritas cackled. You two are adorable! Alright, let's wrap this up. Final verdict. You can tank extreme heat that can melt mountains, cold that can freeze them, radiation that would turn most beings into cosmic dust, and gravity that can crush continents. In short, you're ridiculous. Naruto grinned. I aim to please. Kara patted him on the back. I'm proud of you, Naruto. Even if you're not lifting planets yet, this is a huge accomplishment. Naruto sighed. You just had to mention the planets, huh? Kara smiled innocently. Just putting things in perspective. Veritas snickered. Oh, this is way too much fun. After his resistance tests, Naruto found himself strapped onto a reinforced medical table, his arms and legs restrained, not because he couldn't break free, but because Veritas insisted it was procedure. Alright, golden boy. Veritas grinned mischievously, holding a scalpel that gleamed under the lab lights. Time to see just how much punishment you can actually take and walk away from. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You're way too excited about this. It's called science, Veritas replied cheerfully. Now let's start small, shall we? Stage 1, superficial wounds. The first test was simple, cuts and lacerations across his arms and torso. Veritas made precise incisions, each one barely lasting a second before Naruto's skin closed up with a faint golden glow. Not even a delay. Next. She moved on to deeper cuts, slashes that would have incapacitated a normal person. Again, his flesh knitted itself together almost instantly. Boring, Veritas sighed. Let's go for something more exciting. Stage 2, bone fractures and breaks. With a flick of her wrist, a robotic arm descended from the ceiling, clamping onto Naruto's arm. With a mechanical crack, his forearm snapped cleanly. Naruto winced. Okay, that one actually hurt. Oh, finally, a reaction. Now let's see how fast it heals. A few seconds passed before a golden shimmer ran through his arm, the broken bones reattaching themselves effortlessly. Within 10 seconds, he flexed his hand. Completely fine. 10 seconds for a full break? Interesting. Curious, Veritas adjusted the machine, and crack, broke his leg this time. Naruto let out a sharp breath, pain flashing through him before his body began its natural repair. Okay, that sucked. Ah, poor baby. Veritas teased. You'll live. Oh wait, you heal instantly. Never mind. Naruto shot her a flat look. His leg healed even faster than his arm, 8 seconds this time. Stage 3, internal organ damage. Alright, let's see how you handle organ damage. Veritas muttered, pulling up a syringe filled with a shimmering green liquid. This will corrode some of your organs for a short period of time. Nothing permanent, probably. Probably? Naruto narrowed his eyes. You're really bad at reassuring people. Before he could protest further, Veritas injected the liquid directly into his system. Within moments, Naruto felt a burning sensation deep in his gut. His stomach churned violently, as if something inside him were dissolving. Ugh, nasty, he muttered, gripping the table's edges. Through the observation screens, Veritas watched as his liver and stomach took heavy damage. Within moments, however, his healing factor kicked in, rapidly reversing the effects. His organs regenerated before the corrosion could spread too far. Time to full repair? 5 seconds, Veritas noted. Impressive. Kara, watching from the side, nodded. Most people would be dead before even realizing what was happening. Naruto groaned. You know, that's not exactly comforting. Fine, let's move on. Stage 4, multiple injuries at once. Now for the real challenge. Veritas grinned as she pressed several buttons. The robotic arms activated again, delivering multiple injuries in rapid succession, deep slashes, bone fractures, organ trauma, all at once. Naruto let out a sharp breath as his body was overwhelmed with pain from different sources. He clenched his fists, feeling his body struggle for the first time. His healing factor worked tirelessly, prioritizing the most critical injuries first. His ribs, which had been shattered, mended in under 10 seconds. His punctured lung repaired itself a moment later. The slashes across his torso sealed in real time. Kara whistled. He's basically unkillable. Unless someone goes for the brain or heart, Naruto muttered, sweat forming on his brow. I doubt even I could survive that. Veritas leaned forward curiously. Want to test it? Naruto glared at her. No. Boo, no fun. Kara sighed. Let's not test whether or not he can recover from instant death. Veritas? Fine, I guess we're done, Veritas huffed. Final verdict, you can survive nearly any injury short of a total system shutdown. Your healing factor is ridiculous. Naruto sat up, rolling his shoulders. I don't know if I should be proud or concerned. Both, Veritas chirped. Now, on to the next experiment. Naruto groaned. You're loving this, aren't you?
Absolutely.
After enduring all the pain and torture of the previous tests, Naruto finally arrived at the last one. His stamina and mental capacity, he honestly preferred endurance trials over getting stabbed, crushed, or poisoned. So this was a welcome change. Veritas grinned, hovering beside him. Alright, Musclehead, let's see how long you can fight without breaking down. Just keep attacking the target and maintaining movement. I'll tell you when to stop. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Sounds easy enough. He activated his chakra cloak and Kurama form, launching into a relentless barrage of punches, kicks, Rasen shurikens, and tailed beast bombs. His body moved at speeds that shattered the sound barrier with every step. His attacks relentless and precise. The facility's reinforced systems tracked his movements, measuring his exertion over Ive. After 3 straight days, Naruto was still moving, still fighting. His body showed no signs of slowing down, just a sense of boredom creeping in. 3 days? He muttered, slightly frustrated. Who even fights that long? Kurama chuckled in his mind. Madmen, immortals, and idiots like you. Gee, thanks. Still, Naruto had a thought. What if I just compressed my power? Instead of dragging things out, I go all out in a short burst. Kara, watching from the side, nodded approvingly. That's actually smart. Battles shouldn't last forever. If you have the power to end them quickly, why hold back? Veritas, floating beside her, smirked. See, even this guy has his moments of intelligence. Speaking of which, let's test that brain of yours next. Naruto groaned. I knew this was coming. Mental calculation and cognitive speed. Alright, let's see how fast your brain really is. Veritas pulled up a holographic interface, projecting complex mathematical equations and rapid-fire logic puzzles in front of him. Since you react to light-speed attacks, your calculation ability should be pretty fast too, right? Naruto blinked at the screen as numbers and formulas flashed by. Kara immediately solved one before the system even finished displaying it. Done. Naruto stared. Wait, what? Oh, I finished it already, Kara said casually, not even looking at the screen anymore. It was simple. Veritas snickered. Naruto, you haven't even started, have you? Naruto gulped. Give me a second. He squinted at the equations, his brain working through them at what felt like an acceptable pace, until Kara leaned over his shoulder and let out the cringiest groan. You really don't study, do you? She sighed, shaking her head. You're wasting your brain's potential. If you actually trained it, you could process things faster than a Kryptonian. Naruto felt real shame for the first time during these tests. He could lift mountains, heal instantly, and fight for days, but he couldn't even keep up with basic high-level math. Okay, I get it, he said, rubbing his head. I'll work on it. All right? Kara smirked. You better, you have all that power. Might as well use your brain for once. Veritas snorted, and here I thought nothing could make Naruto embarrassed. Good job, Kara. Mission accomplished. Veritas floated beside him, arms crossed, an amused smirk on her lips. You have a very powerful memory, but sadly it wasn't utilized for proper purposes. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. He knew exactly what she meant. He could recall every single painful moment of his childhood, every prank he had ever pulled, and every bowl of ramen he had eaten. But ask him about a history lesson or a theory about chakra, and his mind went blank. Yeah, I get it, he muttered. My brain filters out boring stuff. Kara chuckled. That's one way to put it. But what if you could actually access all of your memories? The things you didn't realize you absorbed? Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Wait, is that possible? Veritas grinned. You're asking that now, after everything we've already shown you? Naruto shrugged. Fair point. He thought about it for a moment. So is there a way to actually see my memories? Like from the start? Kara's expression grew serious. Are you sure about that? No problem, Naruto said without hesitation. He wasn't worried. There was nothing in his past that could be used against him. And if it helped him get stronger, why not? You don't have to worry about safety, Veritas added. We work with the Justice League, and all data stays within this facility. Kara narrowed her eyes at her. If he gets hurt because of you, then you'll pay. Veritas rolled her eyes. Oh, please. He's one of the toughest beings in the multiverse, and I'm the problem. Ignoring the banter, Naruto took a deep breath as the process began. A surge of energy rushed through him, and suddenly he saw everything. From his very first moments, every second of his life replayed in his mind. He saw his parents again, their last moments before sealing Kurama inside him. The pain of loneliness in his early years, the warmth of Orchid's acceptance, his battles, his growth, his failures, everything. He clenched his fists as he saw his mother, Kushina, again. The way she smiled at him, the love in her voice, as she spoke during her final moments. He had already made peace with her death, but now he truly felt the weight of everything. A deep homesickness settled in his heart, but he pushed past it. Instead, he focused. Every jutsu he had ever witnessed, every hand sign flashed before his eyes. The techniques that had once been fleeting glimpses in battle were now clear as day. Fire style. Fireball basic illusion. Earth style. Earth wall. Earth style. Swamp of the underworld. Water style water prison. Water style water dragon. Lightning style Chidori. Fire style dragon flames. Sound style sound wave. Sound release. Echo healing palm. Transparent escape technique, earth style earth dragon, bullet earth style earth armor, chakra scalpel, earth style mud wolves, lightning ball wind style twister wind, bullet. He memorized every single one. Kurama's voice echoed in his mind. We might even be able to learn from your ancestor. You are spiritually connected to him, after all. Let's meet Satana and see if you can gain Asura's memories. Naruto grinned. That sounds like a damn good idea. Naruto took a deep breath as he stepped back, watching Kara step forward for her turn. After everything he had gone through, all the tests and assessments, he was confident in his growth. He had proven himself. But then Kara moved. Or rather, she disappeared. Naruto's eyes widened as his brain struggled to process what had just happened. His senses, sharpened through countless battles, failed to detect even the slightest trace of her movement. His instincts, honed through years of combat, screamed at him, yet by the time he even realized she had moved, the attack would have already landed. It was terrifying. For the first time in a long while, Naruto understood what it meant to be completely outclassed. Kara reappeared in front of him, completely unscathed, her expression unreadable. Nothing in the facility could so much as scratch her body. The same metallic blocks that could withstand planetary destruction, useless. She walked over to the gravity chamber, and without breaking a sweat, lifted an object weighing equal to the entire planet. Naruto's jaw clenched as she increased the weight, doubling it. He had seen raw strength before. He had fought monsters, tailed beasts, immortals. But this was different. This was absolute domination. He could see it now, the source of her power. Kryptonians drew their strength from the sun, and Kara had been absorbing solar energy for a year now. With every passing second, she was growing stronger. She might have more potential than Superman. Naruto had heard of Superman before, but now he understood. Kara had stayed on Krypton until her teenage years, meaning her muscle density was naturally higher. Unlike Clark, who had arrived on Earth as an infant and developed his powers over decades, she had instantly gained hers upon arrival. Her body metabolized solar energy at an absurd rate, granting her power in mere days. Her base strength alone surpassed Superman's current state. If they had grown up under the same conditions, at the same rate, Kara would have been stronger. However, Superman had the advantage of time, experience, and years of battle. Kara, despite her overwhelming potential, would need decades to match his tactical brilliance. She would always be second to the Man of Steel, for now. Still, Naruto felt awed, humbled. And yet, he also saw the flaws. Kryptonians couldn't fully control the effects of their speed on the environment like he could. If Kara moved at full speed inside a city, the entire area would be obliterated by sheer force alone. He could already see how a fight against a Kryptonian could go. If they fought in a city, they would have to hold back. Naruto smirked to himself. That means if I ever fight one, I have the advantage. If he wanted to, he could escape into a crowded area, using the terrain against them. He could bombard them from a distance, force them to take the fight where they couldn't go all out. Power was one thing, but control was another. And that, Naruto realized, was his key to victory. Naruto ran his hand over the smooth surface of the suit, feeling the cool, almost liquid-like texture shift beneath his fingertips. It was light, yet dense, stronger than anything he had ever worn before. This is made from Kryptonian armor, Veritas explained. It's the same material Superman wears, except this one is adjusted for you. Clark approved its use, so you don't have to worry about authenticity. Naruto nodded, appreciating the weight of those words. He had asked for something to help contain his power, to stabilize it rather than suppress it. This suit was the answer. Slipping into it, he felt an immediate difference. His chakra flowed smoothly across the material, amplifying its natural durability. The armor adjusted to his body, fitting him like a second skin, yet never once restricting his movements. It was perfect. Unlike Superman's classic look, Naruto's version lacked the cape and the outdated underwear oversuit aesthetic. Instead, it was sleek, efficient, and uniquely his. The entire suit was black, exuding a subtle, tactical presence, with orange spirals imprinted on the back, a tribute to his heritage, and at the center of the helmet, the emblem of Konoha was proudly displayed, a reminder of where he came from. The helmet itself had been designed with additional functions, but Naruto had declined most of them. I don't want to rely on crutches, he had told them. If I'm going to grow, I need to do it myself. Even without the advanced Kryptonian technology embedded in the helmet, the suit alone drastically increased his defense. If enhanced further with his chakra, it could allow him to survive attacks that would normally take him out. Naruto stretched his arms, feeling the flexibility of his new suit. The day had been long, but productive. He had learned so much about himself. His strengths, his weaknesses, and the terrifying scale of power he wielded. More than anything, he had gained clarity on what he needed to do next. Looking at Kara and Veritas, Naruto smiled. Thanks for all the help today. I really appreciate it. Kara folded her arms, smirking. You should. Not everyone gets to train in a place built for planetary-level beings. Veritas chuckled, adjusting her glasses. You've made excellent progress. Naruto, you can come back anytime for further testing. We're always improving our methods. Naruto nodded, but then added something that caught both women off guard. I'll come back again when I reach a higher level, or just to talk, if you ever need company. Kara blinked, tilting her head. That was unexpected. Veritas raised an amused eyebrow. Oh my, I didn't think I would hear that. Did my beauty finally charm you? Naruto rolled his eyes. No, I just figured sitting inside with your workers all the time could get boring, so I thought I could at least pay you back by visiting. His reasoning was simple. He had seen firsthand how overworking could grind a person down. The third Hokage had appreciated Naruto's antics, because they had, in a way, kept him sane. If Veritas was constantly dealing with advanced tech and tests, it wouldn't hurt to drop by and lighten things up. For a moment, there was silence. Then Veritas laughed, genuinely touched. Well then, I'll be looking forward to your visits. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. See you later. With that, he turned and walked off, feeling lighter than he had in a long time. As they hovered high above Las Vegas, the city glowed beneath them like a sea of neon, stretching endlessly in all directions. The flashing billboards, the bustling streets, and the lively energy of the entertainment capital of the world were almost hypnotic. Kara floated beside Naruto, arms crossed, her long blonde hair fluttering in the wind. So, she asked, tilting her head, why Las Vegas? Naruto smirked. I need to meet Satana for a request. Kara raised an eyebrow. Magic, huh? Naruto nodded. Yeah, Kurama thinks I might be able to connect with my ancestor, Asura, and learn something useful. Kara watched him for a moment, then grinned. All right, see what else you've got. You keep surprising me, you know. Naruto chuckled, glancing at her. Good surprises, I hope? Kara pretended to think. Mostly. You're almost cool enough to hang with me. Naruto scoffed. Almost? Please, I'm the life of the party. Just wait till you see me in action. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Right. Just don't do anything dumb that gets us in trouble. Naruto grinned. No promises. The two of them began descending toward the heart of the city, where magic and mystery awaited. The warm glow of the apartment's lighting softened the surreal nature of the moment, yet the weight of the revelation still pressed upon Naruto's mind. He sat on the plush couch beside Zatanna, while Kara lounged comfortably on the opposite side, legs crossed, her cape draped over the chair's armrest. Zatanna had a thoughtful expression as she processed Naruto's words. Interesting, So you are a reincarnation of your ancestor. Without his memories, but with a loose desire to fight for the same cause as him. This means no matter what happened, you would have stayed on the right path if he was on the right path. Naruto leaned back, staring at the ceiling for a moment. Her words made him reflect on his own journey. Through all the hardships, all the betrayals, all the losses, he had never lost himself. Others around him had broken under the weight of the world, but he had never even considered stepping onto a darker path. It might have just shown me the way, he admitted, his voice quiet, but it was still my choice to follow through. Zatanna gave a small smile and reached for his hands. Of course, she said, her voice smooth and certain. It doesn't seem like it was complete control, more like a nudge in the right direction. As she spoke, she clasped his hands gently and channeled her magic. The air in the room changed. It felt heavier, yet lighter at the same time, as if something unseen stirred in the ether. Kara sat up straight, her sharp Kryptonian senses detecting the shift before she even saw the swirling blue-white energy around Naruto. Naruto felt his body grow warm as an unusual sensation settled in his chest. Something was being drawn out from deep within his soul. He had never imagined he would be doing something like this, but now that he was in the moment, he couldn't help but be curious. Then Zatanna's brows furrowed. That's strange. What? Naruto asked. Zatanna's eyes flickered with intrigue. There's another soul inside your body. Naruto's whole body tensed. What? It has clear sentience, Zatanna continued, her voice calm but serious. And it doesn't have any bad intentions toward you. Naruto swallowed hard. He had assumed Kurama was the only one inside him since his father's lingering chakra had long since faded. But another soul, how was that possible? Can you bring it out safely? He asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Zatanna nodded and took a deep breath before conjuring a new spell. With a flick of her wrist, a humanoid body made of shimmering magical energy took form in front of them. It lacked distinct features, but it was a vessel, a temporary form for the soul to inhabit. The moment the energy settled, Naruto felt a strange pull in his chest, as though something was being unraveled from his being. And then, the figure blinked its eyes. A wave of nostalgia hit Naruto like a ton of bricks. The face was soft, gentle, yet strong, with striking red hair cascading over her shoulders. The moment her eyes locked onto his, she rushed forward and pulled him into a tight embrace. Naruto froze. Mom? He whispered, his voice cracking. Kokushina Uzumaki held him tightly, her arms trembling. I've wanted to meet you for so long, she whispered against his shoulder, her voice thick with emotion. Naruto's hand slowly lifted before wrapping around her, gripping her like she would disappear if he let go. His breath hitched. He had dreamed of this moment, but he had never dared to hope. But how are you here? Naruto asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Krishna pulled back slightly and cupped his face, smiling warmly. Your father wasn't the only one who left a part of himself inside you. I did too. It was a precaution, a final safeguard in case something happened to you. Naruto's heart pounded. You mean, all this time? I never expected to get a chance to live again. Kushina admitted, turning to look at Zatanna and Kara, her gaze sharp and analytical. Even though she had only just returned, her ninja instincts were already kicking in. Zatanna gave her a reassuring smile. It will work. Your soul will regain its strength. But, she tapped her chin. We can do better. We can provide you with a real body. Kushina's eyes widened in surprise, then softened in gratitude. Thank you, she said sincerely. Then her gaze shifted back to Naruto with a playful glint. Now, she smirked. Which one is your girlfriend? Naruto choked. What? You at least have someone you like, Kushina teased, crossing her arms. Naruto fumbled for words. I thought I did, but now I don't know, he admitted, rubbing the back of his head. Kushina sighed dramatically and placed a hand over her face. You're worse than your father in this. Naruto groaned. Mom, please. Kushina grinned, clearly enjoying this. Life has just been too harsh and fast for you, huh? Naruto nodded, grateful she understood. Yeah, I haven't had a single break in years. The only thing I've come to realize is what love truly means. But I never had the chance to find the right person. Kushina patted his head. That's fine, she said, with a smirk. You still have these two beautiful girls right here to pursue. Naruto turned bright red. Mother, he protested. Kara, who had been silently enjoying the chaos, laughed. Hello, Miss Uzumaki, she greeted smoothly. I'm called Supergirl. Then she added, grinning, and if you haven't noticed yet, you're not in your world anymore. Naruto got stranded here and is looking for a way back. Kapshina's playfulness dimmed slightly as her eyes sharpened with focus.
I see.
She turned to Kara, taking a step forward. And what's your name, Supergirl?
Kara chuckled. Kara Zoil.
Kushina observed her closely, her gaze shifting between Kara and Naruto. There was something familiar about Kara's attitude, a mix of confidence, warmth, and quiet strength. She could see why her son got along with her. Naruto sighed in relief as the topic moved away from his love life. Mom, can you wait a bit? I still have to work with Zatanna to recover my past life's memories. Kushina nodded slowly, her mind already shifting into a strategic mode. I understand, she said. We have a lot to talk about, so finish up first. Then, with a mother's natural authority, she turned to Kara. You, come with me. I have some questions. Kara raised an eyebrow, glancing at Naruto. Guess I'm getting interrogated now. Naruto snickered. Good luck. Kara grinned. Please. I handle Superman. I think I can take your mom. Kushina simply smirked. We'll see. As Kara and Kushina moved to the side for their conversation, Naruto took a deep breath and turned back to Zatanna. All right, he said, rolling his shoulders. Let's get back to work. The night was far from over, and Naruto's journey had just taken an unexpected turn. Naruto sat in silence, his mind drifting into the depths of his past as thoughts of love surfaced. The concept itself was something he had long struggled to grasp. He had once thought he loved Sakura, but now, as he looked back, he couldn't quite understand why. Perhaps it was because she was always in front of him, the ideal of what he thought love should be. But in reality, she had given him more reasons to walk away than to stay. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that what he had felt for Sakura wasn't love. It had been an illusion, a misguided pursuit of something that had never truly been there. Then there was Hinata. She had always been there, watching him from the shadows, offering silent support in ways that no one else ever had. His memories of her stretched far back, to a time when they were just children. He could still remember their first true encounter in the midst of the falling snow. She had been bullied, and he had stepped in, without hesitation. He had thought nothing of it at the time, just another moment in his life. But looking back, he could see how much that moment had meant to her. Later, there was another moment, small yet impactful. She had given him a healing balm when no one else had cared. It was such a simple act, but it stood out because outside of the Ichiraku family and the third Hokage, she had been the only one who had shown him kindness. In a world that had cast him aside, she had reached out. But what had truly cemented her in his heart was her willingness to stand up for him. Naruto had always been the one fighting for others, pushing forward with everything he had to protect those he cared about. But Hinata, she had fought for him. She had faced to death without hesitation, without fear, just for him. First, it had been his parents who sacrificed themselves so he could live. Then Sasuke, who despite everything had given his life to protect Naruto in their final battle. And finally, there was Hinata. She had stepped forward when no one else had, ready to die for him. That act had etched itself into his soul, placing her in a special place within him. Yet despite all this, when she confessed her love, he had been unable to return it. Not because he didn't respect her, or because he didn't care, but because he had never truly understood love. Now, stranded in another world with no way back, he couldn't help but wonder what could have been, if things had been different. If he had realized sooner, would they have had a chance? Life was unpredictable. He doubted he would return home before she found someone else, and perhaps he too would meet someone along the way. The thought didn't bring him sadness, only a quiet acceptance of reality. He had come to understand love, but how long would it take for him to experience it? The answer remained unknown, but for the first time, Naruto felt ready to find out. Naruto sat in quiet contemplation as memories of his past flickered through his mind like the pages of an old book. Love was something he had only recently begun to understand, and even then, it felt like an elusive mystery, one that he had yet to experience in its truest form. His thoughts drifted back to his academy days, to a time when he had been just a lonely boy desperate for acknowledgement. Back then he had been infatuated with a girl who sat near him in class. Every time he saw her, his mouth felt dry, his heart pounded against his ribs, and a strange fluttering sensation twisted in his stomach. It wasn't just in class. He saw her everywhere. In the hallway, walking to her seat. In the cafeteria, laughing with her friends. Even outside of school at the grocery store, where she was just another person among the crowd. But to Naruto, she had stood out like a beacon, impossible to ignore. For 3 weeks, she had consumed his every thought. He had imagined what it would be like to talk to her, to make her smile, to have her look at him the way he had longed for. But as quickly as the feelings had come, they faded, melting away like snow beneath the morning sun. At the time, he hadn't understood why. It was only later, through his experiences and hardships, that he realized the truth. What he had felt hadn't been love. It had been a fleeting attraction, a fascination born from loneliness and admiration. That kind of romance was like a match. When struck, it ignited with a brilliant flame, burning hot and bright. But just as quickly, it was exhausted, leaving only a wisp of smoke behind. It was never true love, a fact that Naruto realized only later in his life because he never understood what love meant. Naruto leaned back against the couch, lost in thought as he reflected on the nature of desire. Back in Konoha, there had been a poster that nearly every young man had owned, a provocative image of a woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to Tsunade. None of them had known her personally, nor had they cared to. To them, the woman in the poster wasn't a person. She was an object, a representation of something they longed for but didn't truly understand. It was never about her. It was about what she symbolized. That was the truth of lust. It wasn't about the object of desire. It was about fulfilling an internal craving. The object itself was simply a means to an end, a vehicle for that reckless hunger. People often spoke of lust in terms of sex, but Naruto had come to understand that it could take many forms. Some lusted after fame, others for wealth or power. Even something as noble as heroism could be twisted by an insatiable desire for recognition. For him, it had always been about attention and love. Since childhood, he had yearned for acknowledgement, for someone to see him, not as a burden, not as a monster, but as a person worth caring for. He had fought so hard, pushed himself so far, all in an effort to make sure he was never alone again. People called him selfless. They admired his ability to fight for others without hesitation. But deep down, Naruto knew the truth. He was selfish. He couldn't bear to see his people suffer. Not because he was some noble saint, but because their pain became his own. He needed them. He couldn't imagine losing them, because without them, who was he? That was the cruel reality of lust. It never truly paid off the way one hoped. Even when someone finally attained what they so desperately craved, the satisfaction was fleeting. The fantasy of the desire always outshined the reality. Lust was like a wildfire. It burned with reckless abandon, consuming everything in its path. And when it had nothing left to devour, it left only destruction in its wake. Scarred, barren land where once there had been life. Naruto had chased after acknowledgement for so long, but he had come to understand that true fulfillment didn't come from being seen or praised. It came from genuine connections, from bonds forged in fire, from people who stood by you, not because they had to, but because they chose to. Looking back, he wondered, had he been chasing the right thing all along? Or had he been caught in the flames of his own longing, blind to the truth until now? As Naruto traveled with Jiraiya, he took on many odd jobs, not just to make a living, but to truly understand the world beyond Konoha. Information was power, and experience was the best teacher. One of the more unusual roles he had taken was that of a pastor. For a month, he stood in front of gathered friends and family, officiating weddings, binding people together with vows of love and devotion. And in nearly every ceremony, he had heard the same passage read, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude or self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails." At the time, Naruto hadn't given it much thought. He had simply stood there, listening as couples held hands and looked into each other's eyes, promising forever. But now, as he reflected on his own life, those words carried a new weight. The passage didn't describe love as an emotion. It wasn't about passion or excitement. It wasn't even about how love felt. Instead, it was about how you treated someone else. Lust, he realized, was about fulfilling a need, chasing a fleeting hunger, consuming and consuming until nothing remained. Lust saw people as objects, as things to be possessed. Love, however, was about giving. It was about seeing someone else, not as a means to an end, but as a person, one worth cherishing, one worth fighting for. Love wasn't about what you could gain, but about helping someone else grow, thrive, and become the best version of themselves. If infatuation was a match, flaring bright, but dying just as quickly, if lust was a wildfire, uncontrolled, consuming everything in its path, then love was the steady, unwavering burn of an oil lamp. It had the same spark, the same heat, the same light. But unlike the others, it did not burn out in an instant, nor did it destroy everything it touched. It endured. As Naruto thought about the people in his life, the ones who had stood by him, the ones who had sacrificed for him, the ones who had given him love without asking for anything in return, he wondered, had he truly understood love before now, or had he only just begun to grasp what it really meant? Naruto closed his eyes, feeling a strange yet profound force stir within him. It wasn't something physical, nor was it something he could grasp with his chakra. It was deeper, something that reached into the very core of his being. Then, it happened. Shadows began to emerge behind him, stretching endlessly into the void of his mindscape. At first they were just silhouettes, indistinct figures shrouded in mystery, but as his senses sharpened, he began to recognize them. The one closest to him, standing firm like an immovable guardian, was Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. His presence was overwhelming, radiating a vitality and strength that made the very air around him feel alive. But above him, towering at the very peak of the spectral lineage, was the first of them all, Asura Otsutsuki. Naruto instinctively understood that these were his predecessors, the ones who had carried the will of the sage throughout generations. They were linked by something deeper than blood. They were bound by fate itself. He counted them, feeling their lingering presence, their wisdom imprinted upon the fabric of his soul. There were at least 10 men between Asura and Hashirama, meaning Naruto himself was the 12th successor. Yet despite this connection, he could sense how weak it had become over time. Putting their knowledge into you all at once would damage your soul, so we will take it slowly, came the voice of Zatanna. Calm yet strained, as if she were delicately balancing something beyond comprehension. Naruto felt something shift, a tether forming between him and the two most prominent figures, Asura and Hashirama. It was like a bridge extending between their souls, a path for knowledge to flow. Suddenly, Asura's shadow moved slightly, as if reaching out to him. He is trying to help you, Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. Naruto took a deep breath and allowed the knowledge to trickle in, though even this slow influx was overwhelming. He felt new information etch itself into his consciousness, secrets that had been lost to time, techniques so powerful they bordered on divine. His body tensed as he absorbed the knowledge, his mind filling with the fundamentals of developing an indomitable physique and refining chakra to its purest form. More than that, he now understood the first steps toward controlling space itself. Asura Otsutsuki wasn't just powerful, he was the very embodiment of raw, unshakable force. As the sage's chosen successor, he had always triumphed over his brother Indra in every past generation. But then Naruto realized something that stung like an open wound. He was the only Asura reincarnation in history to have lost to an Indra, a break in the cycle. The generations had grown weaker, their chakra reserves dwindling, their strength diluted. Each successor had inherited less and less of the sage's true power. But Naruto was different. He was the anomaly, the outlier who had reversed the trend. For the first time in centuries, an Asura reincarnation had surpassed every one of his predecessors except Asura himself. As he processed this revelation, another wave of knowledge washed over him, this time centered on Asura's ultimate technique for cultivating strength. It was a method of breathing, something so deceptively simple, yet impossibly profound. By inhaling in a specific way, Naruto would allow his very atoms to absorb senjutsu chakra, fortifying them gradually over time. With every breath, his body would become denser, stronger, and more resistant. If he followed this path to completion, every atom in his body would radiate raw power. It was a transformation Asura himself had attempted, but he had perished before fully realizing it. Even so, he had already reached the point where he could lift and throw an entire mountain without any augmentation, pure, unfiltered strength. Naruto's heart pounded. This is insane. And that wasn't all. Asura had developed an ability beyond simple physical might, a domain technique centered around his very presence. Anything that stepped within a 10-meter radius of him would experience unbearable pain and pressure, their bodies slowly shutting down as if crushed under an invisible force. It was a manifestation of sheer dominance. But perhaps the most terrifying ability was Asura's power to absorb life force itself. He could drain the vitality of anything around him, using it to either strengthen his body or fuel his attacks. A terrifying, almost immortal-like ability. Naruto barely had time to process all of this when another skill settled into his consciousness, one he could actually use in battle almost immediately. Power Geyser. It was a devastating technique that unleashed compressed chakra at the point of contact. If he struck an opponent, the energy would erupt inside them like a detonation, releasing at least 10% of his chakra reserves in a single attack. Normally, this would be an inefficient move for most shinobi, but Naruto had chakra to spare, and if combined with certain mystical seals, the attack's destructive potential could increase tenfold. As the knowledge finally settled within him, Naruto took a deep breath. It was his now, but it wasn't yet his. These were just blueprints, ideas that required understanding, practice, and refinement. Still, a thought wormed its way into his mind, one that was so outlandish, so absurd, that it made even him hesitate. What if I could inherit not just their knowledge, but their actual power? What if every successor could take the strength of those before them and add it to their own? What if upon death, that power would continue to be passed down, growing exponentially with each new heir? The idea was beyond logic, beyond reason, but then again, so was everything else that had happened to him. That's so crazy, but everything is believable now, Kurama murmured, almost in awe. We can aim for it, but let's digest what we have first, or we might burst. Naruto chuckled, though his body still trembled from the influx of knowledge. I know, but now we have another path to follow. Once we actually reach a slowdown. He opened his eyes, sweat dripping from his forehead. Across from him, Zatanna looked exhausted, her breathing heavy, her hands still glowing faintly with lingering magic. The process had not been easy. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and his soul could have been torn apart. Yet despite the danger, he had taken his first step into something greater. Something that could redefine everything he thought he knew about power. The atmosphere in the dimly lit room was heavy with spiritual energy as Naruto slowly opened his eyes. His body felt warm, his mind buzzing with newfound knowledge, seeping into his consciousness like a steady stream. He took a slow breath, steadying himself as the connection between him and Hashirama Senju settled into place. It was far weaker than his link with Asura Otsutsuki, but it was there, an undeniable bond that would allow him to inherit the legendary First Hokage's wisdom over time. Zatanna, standing nearby, exhaled deeply and wiped a thin sheen of sweat from her brow. The process had been delicate, requiring immense precision. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and Naruto's soul could have suffered irreparable damage. The task of safely bridging the spiritual gap between him and his predecessors had taken a toll on her, but she found herself smiling nonetheless. The connection with Hashirama is on, she confirmed, rolling her shoulders to shake off her fatigue. You'll receive his knowledge gradually since he isn't conscious like Asura. Naruto gave her a grateful nod, his blue eyes shining with sincerity. Thank you, Zeta. I really appreciate this. I'll make sure to repay this favor. A playful smirk curled at the corners of her lips as she took a step closer, placing a soft hand against his cheek. The warmth of his skin was pleasant under her fingertips, and she let them linger just a moment longer than necessary. You can repay me by participating in my show. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that, tilting his head slightly. Your show? Zatanna chuckled, trailing a finger lightly down his cheek before withdrawing her hand. You can act as my assistant, she said, eyes glinting with mischief. And eye candy for the ladies. Naruto blinked, unsure if he had misheard her. What? People will enjoy the sight of you in tight clothing, she teased, her voice light and playful. His confusion deepened. He had faced monstrous foes, trained under legendary figures, and even fought literal immortals. Yet he found himself completely lost in this conversation. Tight clothing? Eye candy? These were concepts utterly foreign to him. He instinctively reached out to Kurama in his mind, hoping for some clarification, but the fox offered nothing but an amused huff. Satana, watching his baffled expression, couldn't help but burst into laughter. "You're so adorable," she said, shaking her head before reaching out and pinching his cheeks. Naruto took it in stride, nodding at her words as if he were entirely unbothered. "Thanks, I am adorable, if I say so myself." Zatanna's laughter continued as she let go, now even more entertained by his unshakable confidence. She had fully expected him to blush, to stammer at least a little under her teasing. But he remained unfazed. It was both impressive and amusing. She had met many men who would have been flustered in this situation, who would have reacted with awkwardness or shy interest. But Naruto? He was different. There was a purity to him, an innocent confidence that hadn't been tainted by vanity or insecurity. It made her like him even more. Her amusement softened into something more thoughtful as she observed him. While he carried himself with ease, Zatanna had sensed something deeper when she examined him for safety earlier. A painful aura clung to him, the unmistakable weight of a past filled with hardship. He hadn't spoken of it, but he didn't need to. She had seen enough lost souls to recognize the silent echoes of suffering when they lingered. Yet despite everything, he smiled. He carried on. He found ways to laugh and joke, even in the face of things that would have broken others.
Zatanna's smirk returned as she lightly tapped his nose.
"All right, Mr. Adorable. We'll work out the details later. But for now, take it easy. You've just taken in a lot of knowledge, and you'll need time to process it." Naruto nodded, stretching his arms behind his head. "Got it." As she stepped back, she found herself looking forward to working with him. Not just because of his potential, but because he was, simply put, a breath of fresh air. And, if nothing else, it would be fun to see just how long he could remain so oblivious, before he finally understood what eye candy truly meant. The air inside the chamber was heavy with mystical energy, the remnants of the ritual still lingering in the atmosphere. Naruto turned away from the intricate sigils on the floor and looked toward the doorway where his mother stood. "Naruto, are you finished?" Kushina's voice carried warmth, the soft concern of a mother who had been watching from a distance. "Yes, we are done," Naruto replied, his bright blue eyes meeting hers. For a moment, he simply took in the sight of her, and a smile unconsciously formed on his face. He finally had family. He wasn't alone in this world, but even as his heart swelled with happiness, his sharp gaze caught something, an expression, fleeting yet undeniable, that crossed Kara's face. A moment of sadness, quickly masked but not quickly enough to escape his notice. Naruto understood. He had been alone once, just like her. For the longest time, he had wished for someone to call his own, someone to share in his victories and comfort him in his losses. Kara had found solace in their shared loneliness, and now seeing him reunited with his mother, she must have felt that deep sense of isolation return. He hesitated for only a moment before making a decision. "Kakara," he said, his voice steady, "will it be alright if I aim to bring your parents back as well while working on my goal to leave this universe?" Kara blinked, startled. "What? You've done so much for me," Naruto continued, his tone filled with sincerity as he took a step closer to her. "I think this is the only way I can help a friend. We've already seen success, so why not try?" Kara's lips parted slightly, but she didn't know what to say. No one, not even her cousin, Kyle, had ever brought up the idea of bringing her parents back. She had assumed it was impossible, that it was something no one even considered. She hesitated before shaking her head. "It's much harder than you think. Their souls have already left this plane of existence." Naruto tilted his head slightly. "Are you sure? Have you even tried? Nothing is impossible in this world, so why should you just give up?" A new voice cut into their conversation, firm and warning. "Not to rain on your parade, but that's a dangerous thought, Naruto," Zatanna said as she stepped forward, her sharp gaze locking onto his. "You could invite the wrath of powerful beings by interfering in that realm. If resurrection was something anyone could do, people would have been doing it already." She crossed her arms. "Remember, death is a conscious being in this world, and you don't want to mess with her domain." Naruto turned his gaze to Zatanna, listening to her words carefully. He knew she was speaking from experience, from knowledge that went far beyond his own in these matters. But at the same time, he had always believed that limitations existed to be overcome. Kara offered him a small smile, her expression softened by his sincerity. Thanks for thinking about me, Naruto, but you shouldn't distract yourself from your own goals. You're my friend, Naruto replied without hesitation, his voice firm. I just want to help you, so it's not a distraction. I will find a way to help you, so don't feel sad. He paused, his eyes locking onto hers. I like it when you smile. Kara's breath hitched slightly, caught off guard by his words. She stared at him, momentarily stunned. You're really perceptive about the weirdest things, she muttered, looking away for a moment before sighing. Okay, but don't focus on it too much, or waste your time. I'll look into it myself too. You're right about one thing. Nothing is impossible. Zatanna sighed, shaking her head, as if dealing with two stubborn children. Well, you kids just don't go putting your hands into demonic things, she warned. No problem, Naruto grinned before turning to Kara. Supergirl, let's get back to Mount Justice. Kara raised an eyebrow. Me too. Naruto gave her a questioning look. We're friends, so I thought you'd want to come with us. Or do you have other plans? Kara chuckled, feeling some of the weight on her chest ease. His words had done more for her than she expected. Thanks, but I'll leave you two alone for today. Naruto nodded. Next time. And with that he placed a hand on his mother's shoulder, and in an instant, the two disappeared in a flash of golden chakra. Kara stood there for a moment, staring at the space they had occupied just seconds ago. A teasing voice broke the silence. Did our cute little Kara get charmed? Zatanna smirked, tilting her head playfully. Kara scoffed. No way. A pause. Maybe a little. Zatanna chuckled, but then gave a more serious look. Just be careful, she warned. Naruto has an obsessive personality. That kind of determination can be a great thing, but it can also turn into a nightmare if it goes too far. Kara glanced at her with a raised eyebrow. I don't see the problem, but thanks for the advice. With that she turned and flew off, leaving Zatanna alone in the chamber. The magician sighed, shaking her head with a knowing smile. This is going to be interesting, she muttered before turning back to her work. As the golden glow of Naruto's teleportation faded, silence settled in the chamber. Zatanna stood there for a moment, her arms crossed as she stared at the empty space where he had been just seconds ago. A small smirk tugged at her lips before she exhaled, shaking her head. That kid, she murmured to herself. Naruto was something else. She had met many powerful beings in her time. Heroes, sorcerers, immortals, and demons. But Naruto was different. It wasn't just his power, though she had sensed an immense wellspring of energy within him, something far beyond anything she had encountered before. No, it was his mindset. His determination. Most people would have accepted the natural order, listened to her warning, and backed off. But Naruto, no hesitation. No doubt, he wasn't just stubborn, he was convinced that he could do the impossible. And the scariest part? She believed him. He had an aura about him. Something indomitable, as if the very concept of failure didn't exist in his world. Even when she had warned him about the dangers of interfering with Death's domain, he hadn't rejected the warning. He had processed it, considered it, as if it was just another obstacle to overcome. It was both impressive and alarming. She sighed, running a hand through her dark hair. This is exactly how those world-shaking legends get started, isn't it? Her fingers traced the air absent-mindedly, conjuring faint symbols of magic that dissipated as soon as they appeared. She had met people who wanted to change the world, but Naruto, he was the kind of person who would change the world, whether he meant to or not. The way he spoke to Kara, the way he noticed her pain so easily, that wasn't just some empty kindness, it was instinct. Naruto understood people. He could cut through layers of emotions, see the hidden wounds they carried, and then without hesitation reach out to heal them. And yet, despite how kind he was, Zatanna could already see it. The obsession. Naruto didn't let go. That level of devotion, that drive to help, was a double-edged sword. It could turn into an unstoppable force for good, or into a curse that consumed him. If he fixated too much on something like bringing back the dead, he could easily end up walking a dangerous path. Not my problem, she muttered, though she knew that wasn't entirely true. Naruto intrigued her. He wasn't affected by her charms, which was rare. Even those who weren't attracted to her still reacted to her presence. But Naruto, he had looked at her, acknowledged her teasing, and simply moved on. It wasn't indifference. It was clarity. He had his own priorities, his own sense of purpose, and nothing seemed to shake it. That kind of resolve? Yeah, it was definitely dangerous. But damn if it wasn't impressive. Zatanna chuckled to herself, shaking her head again. Well, this is going to be fun to watch. With a flick of her wrist, she dispelled the lingering energy in the room and turned away, her mind already thinking of all the ways this unpredictable force of nature, named Naruto Uzumaki, was going to shake up the world. Back at the Flash clan's home, Barry had just received an emergency call about a new supervillain causing havoc in the city, prompting him to excuse himself. His grandson Impulse watched him leave before deciding to follow, feeling an instinctive need to keep an eye on the situation. Wally, are you not coming? Impulse turned to his uncle, brows furrowed in confusion. Wally sighed, shaking his head. No, I'm good. What? Impulse blinked. You're the Flash, the fastest being alive. No, Uncle Barry is the Flash. I was Kid Flash. Impulse frowned. Wally, you're the fastest Flash in all existence. Even I'm going to surpass Grandpa in a few years. You can't just drop out. The world needs you. But Wally didn't budge. He just sighed again, looking away. I think you should go, if you don't want to miss the action. It was a dismissal, plain and simple. Impulse stared at him, searching for some sign that Wally was just messing with him. But no, his uncle wasn't joking. He really meant it. Wally West, the man Impulse had always admired, the legend he knew was supposed to be a hero, was giving up. It wasn't hard to see why. Fear had sunk into his bones, poisoning his thoughts. The life of a speedster, of a hero, came with danger lurking around every corner. He had seen too many fall, too many die, and now the fear of death had wrapped around his heart like chains, slowing him down even when he wasn't running. Impulse clenched his fists, but knew arguing wouldn't help. Not now. Instead, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around Wally in a quick but firm hug. I'll wait for you, Wally, he whispered. Because you are my hero. And with that, he was gone, vanishing in a blur of lightning as he raced after Barry. Naruto had been observing the exchange from a distance, his sharp eyes catching every little detail, the subtle tension in Wally's body, the frustration in Impulse's stance, the sorrow hidden in both of them. It was painful to watch. The younger speedster saw Wally as a hero, an unshakable figure, yet here he was, broken, hesitant, afraid. And Wally, he might have convinced himself that he wanted peace, but deep down, Naruto could tell he was confused, lost between what he wanted and what he feared. Naruto, still in the form of a raven, flapped his wings and took off into the sky, following Impulse while leaving Wally alone with his thoughts. If he really is meant to be a hero, Naruto mused, then no matter how far he runs from it, the moment true danger arrives, he'll come back. Because some people weren't just meant to be heroes. They had to be. Central City, home to the Scarlet Speedster, was no stranger to chaos. Tonight was no different. A man clad in red armor strode through the city streets, waves of destructive energy radiating from his body in every direction. Each pulse obliterated everything within a 10-meter radius, reducing the surroundings to ruins. Fortunately, he had appeared far from civilians, giving them enough time to flee before the destruction reached them. The Flash arrived at the scene in a blur of lightning, skidding to a stop as he analyzed the situation. The energy waves never stopped, overlapping in a continuous cycle, leaving no safe opening. Not even a second between pulses, Barry muttered. If he attempted to breach the radius at full speed, he could be vaporized before even making contact. But before he could make a move, a bolt of lightning shot toward him from behind. A gust of wind and a sudden impact knocked Barry aside before the attack could land. He turned to see Naruto standing behind him, arm raised. Thanks, Barry said, straightening up. No problem. It's the least I can do, Naruto replied, his eyes shifting toward two figures clad in black tactical gear, standing a short distance away. Their postures were confident, assured like hunters who had just found their prey. Barry narrowed his eyes. Anti-speed force gear. That could have been trouble. Those weapons weren't ordinary, far from it. They were designed specifically to counter speedsters, negating their connection to the speed force entirely. Barry clenched his jaw. Zoom. That man had tainted the timeline yet again. This technology wasn't meant to exist in this era, but thanks to Eobard, better known as Zoom, it had been introduced far ahead of schedule, adding yet another obstacle to Barry's already chaotic life. I hate that man so much. Zoom wasn't just any enemy, he was a nightmare that wouldn't die. A man from the 25th century who had killed Barry's mother just to make sure his life would be miserable. A monster consumed by his own jealousy, unable to accept that Barry could have a life outside of being the Flash. And now, he was here again. Can you take care of him? Barry asked Naruto, referring to the armored villain, Neutron. Before Naruto could answer, another voice cut through the air. Flash, get out of the way. This time I'm here for him. Barry tensed. He recognized that voice immediately. Stepping out of the shadows was the very nemesis he had been dreading. Zoom. Naruto immediately sensed the shift in energy as another burst of lightning crackled to life. Impulse, standing nearby, was glaring at Zoom with pure hatred, his body crackling with unstable energy. He hates me because we're related, Impulse said with fury in his eyes. Naruto arched an eyebrow. How? Impulse didn't take his eyes off his target. He's my grandpa by blood, but I despise him, to the core. His fists clenched as his breathing grew heavy. This monster killed my parents. He destroyed my life. Zoom, standing just a few feet away, looked completely unfazed. If anything, he seemed amused by the fury directed at him. His body vibrated with barely contained energy, electric arcs flickering off his form. Impulse was losing control. Naruto sighed and placed a firm hand on the younger speedster's shoulder. Instantly, golden chakra wrapped around him, holding him in place like an unbreakable restraint. Relax, Naruto said calmly. Anger will only lead to mistakes. This isn't your battle. Not yet. Impulse gritted his teeth, but the moment Naruto's chakra enveloped him, clarity returned to his gaze. His breathing steadied, and his crackling energy began to subside. With that settled, Naruto turned his attention back to the original target, the armored villain, Neutron. I'll take care of the other guy, Naruto said, stepping forward. Neutron, still marching forward, hadn't even noticed their presence. Compared to the battle of speedsters, he was operating on an entirely different level, one that Naruto was more than ready to counter. Naruto wasn't in the mood for an extended battle. Testing his abilities could wait. Right now, he needed efficiency. Placing his palm on the ground, he channeled his chakra, and a massive golden clawed hand erupted from beneath Neutron. Before the armored man could react, the hand closed around him, trapping him within a golden sphere between its palms. Neutron continued to release pulses of destructive energy, but the chakra barrier held firm. Seeing that brute force wouldn't work, he shifted tactics, focusing his atomic energy into a concentrated beam. It struck the sphere with full force. No effect. Naruto exhaled. Not bad, but this is slowly draining my chakra. He didn't have the luxury of wasting energy, not when Zoom was in play. Deciding to finish things quickly, he prepared to knock Neutron out. But before he could move, Neutron exploded. A nuclear detonation of devastating magnitude engulfed the area, but Naruto had already reacted. Channeling his chakra, he reinforced the barrier at a single point, absorbing the brunt of the explosion. The city remained untouched. As the dust settled, Naruto assumed the fight was over. But then, from the ashes, Neutron's form began to reassemble. Naruto barely blinked. I've seen worse back home. From the side, Impulse stepped forward. Let me help, he said, eyes on Neutron's unconscious form. I got something to neutralize his powers, or we'll be right back to square one when he wakes up. Naruto glanced at him. You're sure? Impulse nodded. He had seen Neutron's future. The man had regretted everything, and had even asked Impulse to change his past. This was the perfect chance to stop his suffering. Neutron's atomic powers were uncontrollable. His body continuously leaked destructive energy. The suit only offered minimal control, preventing him from disintegrating completely. Living like that had driven him to madness. He had hated heroes, envied them for having their powers and still being able to live normal lives, while he was stuck in a constant state of decay. Naruto wasn't against helping, but he wasn't about to let his guard down. Sorry, but I need to be careful, he said. Instead of letting Bard act freely, he controlled Impulse's body with chakra, guiding him step by step toward Neutron. Impulse scowled. The sensation was incredibly annoying, like being trapped in his own body while someone else moved it. I'm so getting him back for this, but for now, he focused on the task at hand. With some effort, he removed a small capsule and fed it to Neutron. Within moments, the unconscious man's energy stabilized. The constant radiation ceased, his body no longer leaking destruction. Naruto withdrew his chakra hold on Impulse, who immediately shot him an irritated glare. "Not cool," Bart muttered. Naruto just shrugged. Worked, didn't it? Central City had witnessed many battles before, but when the Speed Force and Negative Speed Force clashed, the world itself seemed to struggle to keep up. The streets blurred as two crimson streaks zipped through the city, colliding at speeds too fast for the naked eye to comprehend. They traded millions of blows within seconds, each strike shattering windows and sending shockwaves that cracked the pavement. Neither gained an advantage. Their speeds, their skills, their experiences were too evenly matched. As they fought, their conversation cut through the air, sharp as lightning. "You never change, do you?" "Thon?" Flash grunted as he deflected a rapid series of blows, his arms moving in a blur. "Why would I?" Zoom sneered, phasing through one of Barry's punches before countering with a brutal elbow to the ribs. "Unlike you, I know my purpose, and today, that purpose is to erase that boy." Barry gritted his teeth, absorbing the hit and retaliating with a spinning kick that Zoom barely dodged. "Impulse is just a kid, Eobard. What the hell is wrong with you?" "He's a child of our bloodlines, Barry." Zoom's voice dripped with venom. "You and I, we aren't meant to be connected in any way. A descendant from both our families? Unforgivable." Barry clenched his fists, sparks of blue lightning crackling around him. "You're insane." "Maybe," Zoom smirked, "but at least I'm faster." Zoom vanished, reappearing inches away from Barry. With a brutal hook to the jaw, he sent Flash hurtling through a building, shattering glass and concrete as Barry crashed through several walls before finally stopping himself with a skid across the street. Before he could recover, Zoom was on him again. He pressed a foot against Barry's throat, pushing him down against the cracked asphalt. "You can never stop me, Barry. You will always be a step slower." Barry's mind raced, his breath coming in short gasps. He knew Zoom wasn't bluffing. The man had spent centuries refining his speed, perfecting his abilities just to torment him. But Barry had something Zoom never did. Allies. Enough! Barry unleashed a burst of Speed Force energy, a blue-white electric pulse erupting around him. The shockwave blasted Zoom off of him, sending the villain tumbling backward. As Zoom flipped midair to regain his footing, he prepared to charge again, until he felt it. The presence of others. "We are stopping you from this goal." Zoom's red eyes flickered as he looked past Barry. Green Lantern hovered above, his power ring glowing with emerald light, forming a massive construct of chains ready to bind him in place. Superman stood beside Flash, his cape billowing, eyes glowing red-hot. Zoom clicked his tongue. "You brought company, Barry. I thought this was our fight." Barry wiped the blood from his lip. "When you go after my family, it's everyone's fight." Zoom's glare hardened. He could take Barry alone, maybe even Barry and Lantern, but Superman. Even for him, that was too much. "You'll pay for this," Zoom spat. Barry crossed his arms. "What else can you do? You always run, Eobard. Always hiding behind time travel. You'll always be that same pathetic child, throwing a tantrum because your hero didn't love you back." A flicker of rage twisted Zoom's expression. "It's Zoom," he snarled, lightning crackling around him. "And it rhymes with doom, remember that." And then, with a burst of red lightning, Zoom vanished into the time stream, his final words lingering like a ghost in the air. Barry exhaled, his shoulders dropping as he turned to his allies. "I hate time travelers." Superman gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "You're not the only one." Green Lantern smirked. "So, do we go after him?" Barry shook his head. "No. Not yet. He'll be back. He always comes back." As Zoom vanished into the time stream, Barry remained still, his blue eyes staring at the space where his greatest enemy had stood. The hum of the Speed Force crackled around him, the tension in his body refusing to fade. He always comes back. That was the truth, wasn't it? No matter how many times Barry stopped him, no matter how many times he won, Thawne always found a way back. It didn't matter if he was erased from existence. It didn't matter if he was thrown outside of time. It didn't matter if he died. Because he always came back. And Barry knew exactly why. It was because he let him. Barry clenched his fists, his body still pulsing with speed force energy. If I wanted to, I could end this. He had thought about it before, more times than he wanted to admit. If he was serious, truly serious, he could kill Thawne right here and now. Not by punching him, not by throwing him into the speed force.
No.
By stealing his speed. The knowledge sat in the back of his mind, a dark whisper that grew louder every time Edelbar destroyed something Barry loved. All he had to do was reach into him, strip the negative speed force from his body, and leave him powerless. And without that connection, Thawne would die. Just like that, 1 second, the reverse flash, the monster who had tormented him, killed his mother, hurt his family, would cease to be. And the world would be better for it. Barry let out a slow breath, shaking the thought away. He couldn't do it. Because if he did, if he crossed that line, then who would he become? He had seen it before. He had seen himself lose control, let anger take over, and become something else. A Barry Allen that the world didn't need. A Barry Allen that Iris wouldn't recognize. A Barry Allen that his mother wouldn't be proud of. Killing Thawne would be easy, but living with that choice, that was the hard part. So instead, he closed his eyes, forcing his hands to relax. Let it go. Barry, Superman's voice pulled him from his thoughts. He opened his eyes, offering the Man of Steel a small smile. Yeah? You okay? Barry looked past him, toward the city, toward his city. The battle wasn't over. Not yet. Yeah, he said, nodding. Let's finish this. With the battle over, Naruto had a chance to meet Green Lantern, also known as Hal Jordan, and Barry Allen, the Flash. The League took custody of Neutron, ensuring that his unstable energy wouldn't threaten anyone else. Grateful for Naruto's help, Barry invited him to stay for a while, maybe to get to know him better, maybe just to show his appreciation. Thanks for the invite, but this is private time for you guys, so maybe next time, Naruto replied with a casual wave. And then just like that, he was gone. Barry blinked. Did he just pop out of existence? Hal smirked. Guess he's got his own way of handling things. They didn't dwell on it. There were bigger matters at hand. Back at the Watchtower, the Justice League convened for yet another meeting. The growing threats in the shadows, along with the rising potential of Naruto, demanded their attention. The data they had gathered painted a clear picture. Naruto was still growing, still evolving, like Superboy, Kid Flash, and other young heroes. He hadn't hit his full potential, but what was his full potential? That was the question that concerned them most. I like the kid, Hal said, leaning back in his chair. He gets straight to the point, no hesitation, no games. He didn't waste time with Neutron, and he made sure Impulse didn't take any risks either. That's a good mindset for a hero. He's a nice kid, Zatanna agreed, crossing her legs. And very cute, but there's something about him, an obsessive streak. That kind of personality can be dangerous. If he gets fixated on something, it could lead to bad decisions. Sounds familiar? Shazam muttered with a smirk. Batman shot him a glare. She's not wrong, the Dark Knight said, his voice cool and measured. Obsession can be a strength, but it can also be a weakness. The question is which one it will be for him. Superman, ever the optimist, folded his arms. Obsession isn't a problem if we guide him. He's already opened up to us more than most. And with his mother by his side, I doubt he'll fall into the wrong path. Assuming his mother stays by his side, Batman countered. No one had a response for that. After a moment, Batman continued. We don't need to make a judgment call now. Time will tell if he has the will to stay strong, no matter the cost. But as practical as his words were, the League was worried. Naruto was strong, but the real problem wasn't him. It was his clone. Or at least, the being that claimed to be his clone. In a possible future, this so-called clone had caused widespread destruction, a level of devastation they could not afford to ignore. If that future was inevitable, they had to prepare now. Zatanna took a quiet breath and whispered an incantation. A subtle, almost imperceptible mark formed on Naruto's soul. A safeguard, a way for the League to track him without him knowing. After all, if their enemies could read minds, the best way to keep a secret was to ensure even Naruto wasn't aware of it. It wasn't an ideal move, but it was necessary. With that issue settled, they turned to another matter. One far more concerning. The second major threat. Unlike the situation with Naruto, this one was already in motion. It had caused even more damage in the glimpses of the future they had managed to uncover. And this one seemed unpreventable. Superman let out a slow breath. Fine, I'll do it. The League turned to him. If there's another crisis coming, then I can't afford to hold back. I'll increase my normal power output, no more pulling punches. Hal Jordan gave a firm nod. Same here, I'll keep my energy levels high at all times. If we get caught off guard, it's on us. But even as they made these preparations, there was an undeniable truth hanging over them. They were already spread too thin. The light was still moving in the shadows. Alien threats were still present. The world was still constantly at risk. And no matter what they did, no matter how much they planned, they just didn't have enough time. Mount Justice. Soft moonlight filtered into the dimly lit room, casting gentle shadows across the walls. In the quiet sanctum of Mount Justice, Naruto lay curled up on Kushina's lap, his head resting against her as she absent-mindedly ran her fingers through his golden locks. For all his strength, for all his pride as a warrior, Naruto couldn't deny that this moment of comfort, it was something he needed. It was embarrassing. Sure, he was no child, and he hated looking weak, but the warmth of his mother's touch was something he had never known before. It was soothing, a love without limits. And tonight, he could finally feel it. His empathic ability, one that had seemingly awakened just today, let him truly understand the emotions of those around him. And right now, his mother's love was blinding. But beneath that, a storm was brewing. Kushina's fingers twitched slightly as he spoke, and Naruto knew she was angry. No, furious. She had been asking about what had happened to him, and Naruto, wrapped in a golden sphere of chakra to keep their conversation private, told her everything. Not because he had to, but because she deserved to know. This was his life, and if anyone had the right to hear it, it was her. And, with every word, Naruto could feel his mother's rage bubbling beneath the surface. Her heart pounded with barely restrained fury. Her fingers, once gentle, clenched slightly in his hair before she consciously forced herself to relax. She hated it. She hated that she hadn't been there. She hated that her baby boy had gone through so much alone. That Minato had been too trusting. That Jiraiya, Hirozen, and Kakashi had been too broken, too tired, too weak to do what needed to be done. They had meant well. She knew that. But meaning well didn't change the reality. Naruto had suffered, and the village, oh the village. The people didn't truly hate him. Not all of them, at least. No, the real problem had always been fear. They feared him. Deep down to their core, they feared the monster that had destroyed their lives. The nightmare that had taken everything from them. And to them, Naruto was that nightmare given flesh. It didn't matter that he had been an innocent child. They had seen a demon. And demons weren't meant to be loved. They were meant to be feared. And even when he had been small, when he had smiled, when he had laughed, they had never seen an adorable little boy. They had seen a little devil. One who grinned too wide, one whose presence sent shivers down their spines, one whose very existence taunted them with their worst memories. Naruto could remember their eyes. The way people clutched their chests as if they were having a heart attack, when he simply existed. And now he could feel it. The fear, the sorrow, the hatred. He understood now, but that didn't mean it hurt any less. And Kushina, she was done. Once I return home, her voice was a low growl, her fingers cracking as her knuckles turned white. Naruto, still lying against her, felt the heat of her rage boiling over. I'm breaking some skulls. Her words weren't an empty threat. No, she meant it. Death was an unknown thing. Even now, after experiencing it firsthand, Naruto still couldn't say what it felt like. Because in truth, he had died peacefully. No pain, no fear. Just a quiet fading into nothingness. And yet, that experience had cost him everything. At least, it should have. But strangely, Naruto couldn't bring himself to regret it. Because what he had gained in return was worth more than anything he had ever lost. For the first time, Kurama was his friend. For the first time, Kushina was in his life. And as if that weren't enough, he had awakened something new. Something powerful. A sense beyond the physical. Two, actually. One was spiritual awareness, allowing him to feel anything that interacted with souls, his own or others. Before this, Naruto had already been able to see ghosts, but that was simply because ghosts were pure spiritual energy. Chakra, on the other hand, was a mixture of physical energy from billions of cells and the mental and spiritual energy of the soul. So while it was possible for shinobi to see ghosts when circulating chakra, it was rare. After all, it wasn't like people were constantly sealing spirits away in the middle of the woods, or developing jutsu to turn themselves into ghosts. Back then, he had relied solely on sight to perceive them. Now he could feel them before they even appeared. Even if a ghost entered his body unseen, he would know. And his attacks, they would still hit. That was comforting, because ghosts were, by nature, unknown beings. Maybe they had ways around his defenses. Maybe they could slip in while he slept. Maybe they could use intangibility to bypass all his barriers. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. But then, Naruto smirked. That's why I've got Kurama. Even if some spirit tried to possess him, the giant fox would tear through them like wet paper. Then there was his second new ability, spatial awareness. This wasn't just some random power. It was a remnant of Asura's knowledge. That didn't mean he could suddenly teleport or track every spatial distortion in existence. It wasn't that simple. Everything had a skill level, and right now, Naruto was still at the bottom of this particular field. He could sense low-level spatial or spiritual disturbances, but anything beyond that would take time. When Zatanna placed a soul mark on Naruto's soul, he didn't even realize it. Neither did Kurama. Both of them simply weren't at her level when it came to soul-based magic. If she hadn't mentioned it, they would have remained unaware. The mark's purpose? To allow Zatanna to locate him anywhere from one solar system to another world. Distance wouldn't matter. She had carefully crafted the mark to ensure that only she could detect it. No weak amateur spellcaster would ever notice its presence, and to make absolutely sure that Naruto and Kurama wouldn't question it or accidentally give it away, she erased their memories of it. Before that, though, Naruto had voiced an interest in soul-related abilities. That conversation led to Zatanna helping him make a major change, relocating Kurama. Previously, the Great Fox had been inside Naruto's seal space, which still existed but had become irrelevant. With Zatanna's guidance, Kurama moved into Naruto's soul space, while the remnants of the original seal were scrapped. It was Kurama's idea. The outside world was too noisy, and the limitations of his physical form meant his power was diluted. Instead of focusing his chakra, he constantly had to manage the drawbacks of being tethered to Naruto's body. Now he was free, fully merged into Naruto's soul space. The benefits were clear. Kurama, like all the tailed beasts, carried a fragment of the 10 tails. That fragment limited him, but the 10 tails itself had gained power by absorbing the world's life force, nature energy, and planetary vitality. So why couldn't he do the same? Once Naruto had mastered his current level of power, they could start pouring energy into his real body. Would this take away energy from the planet? Yes. Would it reduce the world's lifespan? Also yes. But if they absorbed from a star instead of the planet, it wouldn't be a problem. This was a long-term plan, a way for Kurama to keep up with Naruto's future growth. Because at the rate Naruto was improving, Kurama knew the day would come when he would be left behind. To remain equals, he needed an edge. Right now, he contributed chakra control, and his mind. But in the future, he risked becoming nothing more than a battery, a source of chakra Naruto barely needed. That thought led to this decision. Kurama had been analyzing everything since their arrival. He had already predicted Naruto's exponential growth, even with a terrible training regimen. The results were undeniable. Now, with a proper system in place, Naruto's power would skyrocket. Kurama had to prepare. And Naruto, he didn't hesitate. The moment their souls touched, he knew he could trust Kurama completely. And with that, the fusion was complete. Kurama was now part of his soul space. There were no downsides, only benefits. For Naruto, his soul expanded, granting him a natural power boost and additional protection against threats. For Kurama, it was an investment in his own future. If Naruto ever died, Kurama would return with his body intact and all his power restored. It was a win-win. For the first time, Naruto thought of Kurama as a true friend. For the first time, Kurama saw Naruto as more than just a host. He was a partner who over time might even become something more. Then there was the final change. Death sense. Naruto first noticed it through a clone. which had saved a man from a falling flower pot. He should have died, but Naruto felt it. Death was close. This new sense worked alongside his danger sense, drastically improving his chances of survival. And in the dangerous world he lived in, that was priceless. Why do you not feel any anger for their actions? Kushina asked, her voice laced with concern as she listened to Naruto's story. I did feel anger in the beginning, Naruto admitted, but with understanding came forgiveness. I realized they were just fragile beings, trapped in their fears, unable to move forward. It made sense. They had no power to protect themselves if I ever turned against them. Their fear led to my isolation, but I was able to change their minds through my actions, through proving myself, through risking my life for them. Kushina clenched her fists, her heart aching at his words. That doesn't make it right, Naruto. What they did to you, ignoring you, isolating you, it's not something you should just brush aside. That kind of treatment can break a person. I know, Naruto said, his voice calm but firm. It could have turned me into something worse. Gaara was regularly attacked by his own people, and look at what that did to him. I was just left alone, that's all. That's not just all, Naruto, Kushina countered, her voice shaking with emotion. Loneliness, neglect, they leave scars just as deep as any wound. You could have become a violent criminal, fallen into despair, or even taken your own life. But I didn't, Naruto said simply. And that's what matters. Kushina took a sharp breath. The way he spoke, as if his own suffering was insignificant compared to others, it scared her. Who taught you to think like this? The old man, third Iruka, Kakashi, and Jiraiya, Naruto listed. Kushina's eyes narrowed. It must have been that old man, always preaching about the village being a family, about sacrificing everything for it. She exhaled sharply. Listen to me, Naruto. Never throw your life away for others. Your life is precious. If you get hurt, it will hurt the people who love you. If you die, I will be hurt. You understand? Naruto blinked as Kushina cupped his face between her hands, her grip tightening as if to keep him from slipping away. Tears glistened in her eyes. I will try to be careful, Naruto said softly. But if I stop protecting others because of my own safety, then what am I teaching the world? That it's better to leave someone to die if helping them puts me at risk. He shook his head. The world is already becoming a place where people turn their backs on those in need, where friendship is just a word and people betray each other without a second thought, where family is spoken but never truly acted upon. I refuse to be another sheep waiting for a shepherd to lead. I want to be the shepherd. I want to guide people towards something better. Kushina's heart clenched. She wanted to be angry, to scold him for thinking so recklessly. But deep down, she felt nothing but pride. His conviction, his will, it was unwavering. It was Minato's heart, her heart, shining through in their sun. Fine, she finally said, sighing. I won't ask you to stop, but promise me this. Your survival must always come first. Your life is worth more than any stranger's. If you die, you can't save anyone else in the future. Naruto hesitated. He didn't believe that. To him, all lives were equal, but looking into Kushina's tear-filled eyes, he knew this wasn't just about logic, it was about her love for him. I'll keep that in mind, he said at last. I'll become stronger, so strong that no matter what, I'll survive. That way, I can keep my promise and still change the world. Kushina sighed, wiping her eyes before giving him a small smile. You really are your father's son. Naruto grinned, and my mother's too. Kushina's sharp gaze scanned Naruto, from head to toe, before she clicked her tongue in disapproval. I can see you have no seals on your body, not a single one. You really should have gone to Tsunade for training, instead of that perverted toad. Your weak state is proof of his failure as a teacher. Naruto blinked at her words. Wait, what? Even with Minato, that old toad barely did anything. Kushina continued, arms crossed. I did more for your father's training than he ever did, and I wasn't even his teacher. You trained Dad? Naruto exclaimed, eyes wide with shock. Of course, she said, as if it were obvious. Where do you think he got that fighting style? It's the Uzumaki style of Finjutsu, where we use chakra to create seals on contact. I taught him a lot. He incorporated my techniques into his own style and even improved the second Hokage's teleportation seal. I thought the Theptaji was his original creation? Kushina scoffed. No, Minato did create the second step of the seal. but the first step was already made by the second Hokage. Unfortunately, by the time Minato started developing it, all of Tobirama's notes had been destroyed. The second was a very cautious man. Wait, didn't he leave forbidden jutsu in the scroll? Naruto asked, scratching his head. Those? Kushina waved her hand dismissively. Those aren't that dangerous compared to Fitigi. That jutsu lets the user appear anywhere instantly. It's the perfect escape and attack technique. The second must have thought it was too dangerous to leave behind. Or maybe he just forgot to put it in the scroll. Naruto suggested with a grin. That thing had some really weird jutsu in it, like the dead demon consuming seal. What? Kushina's expression darkened instantly. Yeah, I saw it in there. That old bastard, she growled, clenching her fists. I can't believe he left something that dangerous just lying around. Naruto chuckled nervously before shifting the conversation. So, is Fionjutsu really that good? Kushina gave him a look, as if he had just asked whether the sky was blue. Good? It's the best. There is no art higher than Fionjutsu. With it anything is possible, if you can imagine it clearly. Supply the right chakra and use the proper materials. You can summon the Shinigami with Fionjutsu. You can call souls from the upper domain and give them undying bodies. With the right knowledge, you could even achieve immortality. Naruto's jaw nearly hit the floor. Mom, you're the best in the world. Kushina smirked and ruffled his hair. I know, and starting today, I'm teaching you how to be a proper Uzumaki. It's embarrassing to see you running around without a single seal on you. I do know some fornjutsu. Naruto defended. I can make storage, explosion, and weight seals. Kushina raised an unimpressed eyebrow. That's basic Genin level work, and I bet you only know the first level of each. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Yeah. Kushina let out an exaggerated sigh. What kind of fan are you? Your father specialized in Fichinjutsu, and you didn't even try to follow in his footsteps. When I was young, I was a huge fan of Mito Uzumaki, and I made sure to master Fichinjutsu. It became my best skill, right alongside swordsmanship and ninjutsu.
I guess.
I was just a bad student, Naruto admitted. He didn't blame anyone. He could have. Nobody had actually taught him how to learn properly. His education consisted of nothing more than basic reading, writing, and survival knowledge from some unknown caretakers before they dumped him into an apartment alone at 6 years old. The world was dark and enormous for a child his age, but no one had guided him through it. The Ichirakas were kind, but they ran a business. They couldn't always be there for him. Even when they offered, he declined. He saw how his presence affected them, how it made customers avoid their shop. He didn't want these kind people to suffer his loneliness. The academy teachers did their jobs, but children needed mentors, role models, people who cared. Naruto had none. He fell behind in school, his mind too burdened with isolation to focus. And in time he became a clown, a troublemaker, anything that would earn him a scrap of attention. Any attention was better than none. Anything was better than the darkness. Naruto stood firm, his blue eyes burning with an unshakable resolve. The weight of the world's hatred and suffering pressed against him, but he refused to be crushed. His voice rang out, unwavering and filled with conviction. I will lift the curse. If any kind of peace exists, I will grab hold of it and never let it go. I refuse to quit. Across from him, doubt loomed like a shadow. The voice that challenged him was harsh, yet tinged with concern. Why are you telling me you're not going to change? You have no idea how much pain you might have to go through, the voice argued. Not changing, do you really think, believing in yourself, is going to cut it? Can you really say that? Can you really trust in yourself so thoroughly? Naruto clenched his fists, but his heart remained steady. He thought back to Jiraiya, to the dream his master had entrusted to him. He could still hear the old man's laughter, feel the warmth of his presence, despite the emptiness left behind. If you change the main character, it becomes another story entirely, Naruto declared. The book my master left behind would become another book. It wouldn't be Naruto. I don't have my master's knack for writing. That's why, I'll keep walking it, no matter how much pain I go through along the way, because that's what Naruto is about. His voice softened for a brief moment, but the determination in his words never wavered. This cycle of hatred, I will break it. I will find an end to it, within my time on this world. The words echoed in his mind, a promise not just to himself, but to the world. He remembered saying them to Nagato just days ago, and he knew most people wouldn't understand. They would think he was naive, foolish even. But Naruto had long since accepted that he might have to walk this path alone. Still, he was not truly alone. There were others like him, people who believed in something greater, who carried their own burdens but still pressed forward. Yet despite their numbers, the world remained steeped in violence, in selfishness, in suffering. It was a nightmare for anyone with a heart that could still feel. A weaker person would have faltered, seeing so many failures before them. A weaker mind would have doubted its own ideals. But Naruto was not weak, not in will, not in heart. Instead of despairing, he chose to learn. He chose to take the mistakes of the past and forge his own way forward. The difference between him and the others who had tried and failed before was clear. He was not just a hero. He was a leader in the making, a future ruler of a nation, a guiding force for an entire military. Jiraiya had taught him much about people, about the way the world worked, but there was still so much he didn't know. He lacked a full picture of the horrors people inflicted upon one another, the reasons why cruelty thrived. But he wanted to know. He wanted to understand, not just from the outside, but from within. To truly comprehend someone's pain, you had to walk in their shoes, to feel their suffering, to experience their loss. Naruto was willing to endure that pain if it meant finding a solution that could heal the world. A solution that could put an end to this endless cycle of hatred. Of course, he knew the risks. He had learned the hard way that sparing an enemy could mean his own death. His battle with Sasuke had proven that Naruto had avoided striking to kill, holding back even when Sasuke had every intention of ending his life. He had survived that day by luck alone, and he was fully aware of it. But even knowing that, he refused to change his path. Being a guide, a light in the darkness, was never easy. How many before him had tried and failed? How many had started with noble intentions, only to fall to hatred themselves? He didn't know, but he knew one thing. He would not succumb. He would not let the world break him. Naruto would touch people's lives personally, like a priest ministering to the lost souls trapped in this cycle. He would show them the truth, the sickness that plagued their societies, the poison that had seeped into the hearts of so many. In every land, in every nation, the disease was the same. People had come to believe that cruelty and selfishness were the keys to success, that kindness was a weakness, that stepping on others was the only way to rise. That thinking had to end. Glancing around the base, Naruto took in the luxury and comfort surrounding him. It was unlike anything he had ever known. The polished floors, the grand halls, the lavish accommodations. It was a far cry from the small, empty apartment he had grown up in. But comfort could be dangerous. It could make a person forget the struggles of the outside world. I will leave after a month, Naruto decided. He needed to stay connected to people, to live among them. If he distanced himself too much, if he allowed himself to be cut off from the struggles of ordinary lives, he might lose sight of the very thing he was fighting for. Indifference was an enemy just as deadly as hatred. No, he would not let himself become numb. His training was important, but understanding people was even more so. If he wanted to truly change the world, he had to walk among it, to see its pain firsthand, to never forget why he had chosen this path in the first place. Naruto took a deep breath, his resolve solidifying even further. He would not falter. He would not waver. No matter what pain he had to endure, no matter how much suffering awaited him, he would walk this path until the very end. Naruto sat by the crackling fire, the soft sizzle of fish roasting over the flames filling the air. The morning had been grueling. His workout had pushed his body to its limits, and yet he felt nothing but satisfaction. His breathing was steady, controlled, following the rhythms of Asura's technique, the path of Asura. The movement exercises and weight training had tested his endurance, but that was exactly what he wanted. His goal wasn't to rely on Sage Mode or Kurama's chakra all the time. He wanted raw, unshakable strength, even in his base form. The weight seals on his body were proof of his progress. At the moment, he could handle 10 tons without chakra, and 10,000 tons with it. Sage Mode could push him even further. But strength wasn't just about numbers, it was about control. That was something his mother had emphasized, as she helped him improve his training regime. "Mother," He glanced at his bare arms, tracing his fingers over the invisible seals Kushina had etched onto his skin the night before. They only became visible when he activated his golden glow, a sign of the vast power locked within. He remembered her words as she carefully guided a clone through the intricate sealing process. Naruto, seals are more than just tools. They are extensions of our will. A true master doesn't just use seals, he becomes one with them. She had spoken with a passion that made Naruto realize just how deeply the Uzumaki blood ran through his veins. As she worked, she explained the philosophy behind the art. In Uzushio, our greatest warriors carried countless seals on their bodies, not just for storage or protection, but for resonance. Alone, a seal is powerful. But together in harmony, they become something more. That's the foundation of the Uzumaki sealing arts. Naruto had listened intently as she reminisced about legends from their clan's past. There was once a warrior, she had said, her voice filled with admiration, whose seals were so intricate, so perfectly attuned, that with a single thought, he could move the world. Not physically, but through pure will, reshaping reality, as if it were clay in his hands. The idea had fascinated Naruto. He had seen seals used for incredible feats, but to reach such a level, it was something beyond even his wildest dreams. What if we could take it even further? Kushina had mused aloud, her eyes gleaming with excitement. What if we didn't just apply seals to our skin? What if we inscribed them onto each individual cell? Or even at an atomic level? Naruto had blinked, stunned by the sheer scale of such an idea. That sounds impossible, he admitted. Kushina had laughed. Of course it does, but sealing was always about defying limitations. We bend space, store energy, link realms. Why should there be a limit? If I can refine my technique, I might be able to create a way to engrave seals on the cellular level. Imagine resilience, adaptability, regeneration, all enhanced beyond natural limits. She had shaken her head, her enthusiasm momentarily giving way to a thoughtful expression. But that's something for the future. First, I need to refresh myself on my old studies. It's been a long time since I practiced sealing at that level. When I return from Veritas, I'll see what I can come up with. Her words lingered in Naruto's mind as he took a bite of his fish, savoring the taste. He had no doubt that if anyone could break past those limits, it was his mother. For now, he focused on what was within his reach. His conversation with Kurama earlier had given him a lot to think about. You can be like father and move on foot everywhere while spreading your words. Naruto had frowned at that. The sage also experienced this, he had pointed out. How did it go for him? Kurama's deep, rumbling voice had carried both wisdom and regret. He learned much about humanity. He traveled the world, helped countless people, but in the end he could not guide them to peace. That's why he spread chakra, not as a weapon, but as a means of connection. The true purpose of chakra was to allow people to understand one another. When two souls allow their chakra to interact, they can form an unbreakable bond. Naruto had felt a strange warmth at that idea. Like us. Yes, Kurama had affirmed. But there was another reason. Chakra was also meant to be a defense against illusions. It was given to humanity so they could resist those who sought to entrap them in deception. That had confused Naruto at first. But you can still catch people in genjutsu. Kurama had huffed, amused by the question. That's because of my grandmother, he had explained. She placed the world under an illusion of eternal bliss. Father gave chakra to humanity so they could connect, but also so they could fight back against such illusions if they ever returned. Naruto had poked at the fire, watching the embers dance in the cool morning air. Sadly, that's impossible at the moment, he had admitted. The world was still far from peace. Still, he wasn't going to stop trying. There was another issue on his mind. His summoning contract was gone. Ever since arriving in this universe, his bond with the toads had been severed. Kimabonta, Fukasaka, Shima, none of them could reach him. That meant one thing. He needed a new summon. Not just any summon, but one strong enough to stand at his side in the battles to come. The toads, for all their wisdom, were no longer enough. He needed a partner who could match him, challenge him, push him beyond his limits. As he chewed on his meal, he thought about what kind of beast would be worthy. A dragon? A titan? Something ancient, powerful, and wise? A smirk played on his lips. Guess I'll find out soon enough. His mother was off with Kara to visit Veritas, preparing for her new body. He wasn't worried, Kushina could handle herself, and once she returned, they'd take his training to the next level. For now, he would focus on what was in front of him. Naruto looked up at the sky, the sun beginning its slow ascent. He had a long way to go, but he was ready.